Have you ever considered that beneath the turbulent surface of your daily thoughts, beneath the crashing waves of emotion and the relentless currents of obligation, there lies a vast, silent ocean of peace? A depth within you that is untouched by the storm, a quiet immensity that holds the wisdom of ages. We spend our lives navigating the storm, believing the wind and the rain are the whole of reality. We chart our course by the lightning flashes of fleeting success and the thunderclaps of external validation. We grow so accustomed to the roar that we forget the silence it conceals. You may know this feeling well, the sense of being perpetually in motion, yet arriving nowhere. The exhaustion that seeps into your bones, not from physical labor, but from the ceaseless effort of upholding a self that feels increasingly foreign. You have played all the roles required of you, collected the accolades, and built a life that should, by all external measures, feel complete. Yet, in the quiet moments, when the applause fades and the distractions recede, you may feel a profound hollowness, a subtle but persistent ache for something more, something real. This is the great paradox of our time. We are the most connected generation in history, yet we feel profoundly alone. We have access to infinite information, yet we lack wisdom. We chase happiness with a frantic desperation, only to find it recedes from our grasp like the horizon. This is not a personal failure. It is the condition of a world that has forgotten where to look for its answers. We have been taught to seek our value in the reflection of other people's eyes, to build our homes on the shifting sands of public opinion, and to measure our worth by the noise we create. But the soul does not speak in the language of the crowd. It whispers. This journey, the words you are about to hear, is an invitation to step out of the storm. It is not an escape, for there is nowhere to run. It is, instead, a journey inward, a descent into the silent, deep waters of your own being. Together, we will walk away from the noise, not to abandon the world, but to learn how to live in it from a different place, a place of unshakable inner stillness. This is a space to remember the native frequency of your soul, to find the quiet, indestructible center where your true power has been waiting patiently all along. Take a breath. Let the world outside fall away. The journey home has already begun. Our journey home begins not with a stride, but with a stillness. It begins with the courage to face the very reason we sought the path in the first place, a feeling so pervasive, so deeply woven into the fabric of modern life, that we often mistake it for a permanent part of who we are. It is the echo of the void. You know this echo. It is the hollow hum beneath the noise of a busy day, the silent ache in the heart of a crowded room. It is the sense of profound lack that can visit you in the midst of abundance, the ghostly guest at the banquet of your achievements. You can have the perfect partner, the successful career, the admiration of your peers, and still, in the dead of night, this echo can return, a cold draft from a door you cannot find. It whispers a single, terrifying question. Is this all there is? Our entire society is a conspiracy to flee from this echo. We have constructed a civilization of distraction, a labyrinth of entertainment and ambition designed to ensure we never have to spend a moment alone with this feeling. The moment the echo begins to surface, we reach for a phone, we turn on a screen, we make a plan, we lose ourselves in work, in drama, in the lives of others. We fill every available space with noise, with content, with doing, all in a desperate attempt to drown out the silence that grows in the heart of things. We have become addicts, not to any single substance, but to the avoidance of our own inner space. The conflict is relentless. A part of you, the soul, longs for the stillness, for the truth that can only be found there. But another part, the conditioned mind, the ego, is terrified of it. This mind believes its existence is defined by thought, action, and identity. To it, the void is not a space of potential, it is annihilation. It is a direct threat. It fears that if the thinking stops, if the doing ceases, if the identity is questioned, there will be nothing left. It equates the void with non-existence, with failure, with the ultimate proof that you are, at your core, worthless and empty. And so, it fights. It will throw memories at you. It will create urgent to-do lists. It will generate anxiety about the future. It will do anything to keep the machine running, to keep you from simply stopping and listening to that profound, silent echo. But what if we have been engaged in a great misunderstanding? What if the void is not the enemy? What if it is not a lack, but a presence? What if this feeling we have been running from our entire lives is, in fact, the very thing we have been seeking? The ancient sages understood this. They knew that the void, the emptiness, the shunyata as it is called in the East, is not a barren wasteland. It is the womb of all creation. Think of a vessel, a sacred chalice. If it is already full of stale water, it cannot receive the fresh wine. It must be emptied first. The space inside the chalice, its very emptiness, is its purpose. It is what makes it useful. Our minds are the same. We have filled them to the brim with second-hand opinions, with fears, with dogmas, with the endless chatter of the collective. There is no room for truth to enter. The echo of the void is a divine invitation to empty the vessel. It is a call to create space, or consider the desert. To the frantic mind, the desert is a symbol of desolation, of death. But to the contemplative, it is a place of profound purity and power. In its vast silence, the unnecessary is stripped away. The winds carve the sands into sculptures of stark beauty. Beneath the surface, life persists in its most resilient forms. The desert does not try to be anything other than what it is, vast, silent, and open to the sky. The void within you is this desert. It is not empty, it is spacious. It is the canvas upon which the masterpiece of your life can be painted. Without the silence between the notes, there is no music, only noise. Without the empty space on the page, there are no words, only a blur of ink. The void is this sacred silence, this holy space. It is the presence of potential itself. The echo you feel is not the sound of nothing. It is the resonance of pure possibility calling you to turn and face it. To do this requires a practice, an act of quiet courage. We will call it 5 minutes with the void. It is simple, but it is not easy. Sometime today, find a place where you will not be disturbed. Sit down, close your eyes if you feel comfortable, and do nothing. Do not try to meditate. Do not try to achieve a peaceful state. Do not recite mantras. Your only task is to stop running. As you sit, you will feel the pull of distraction. Your mind will scream for something to do. Your body will feel restless. And you will feel the echo, the hollowness, the void. Your instruction is this: let it be there. Do not analyze it. Do not give it a story. Do not judge it as good or bad. Simply feel it as a pure sensation in your body. Where is it located? Is it in your chest, your stomach? Is it heavy or light? Does it move? Befriend it with your awareness. Greet it as you would greet an old, misunderstood friend. Your mind will tell you this is a waste of time, that it is uncomfortable, that you should be doing something productive. Thank your mind for its opinion, and gently return your attention to the silent sensation of the void. That is all. 5 minutes. By doing this, you are performing an act of profound spiritual rebellion. You are breaking the primary rule of the conditioned world, which is never, ever stop. You are sending a new message to the deepest parts of your being. The message is, I am not afraid of my own inner space anymore. I am here. I am willing to listen. When you first begin, these 5 minutes may feel like an eternity. The discomfort may even intensify because you are no longer suppressing it. This is a sign that the practice is working. You are allowing what is real to surface. Stay with it. Day after day, you sit for 5 minutes. You are not trying to conquer the void or fill it. You are simply allowing it to be. And slowly, a shift will occur. The terror will begin to subside. The restlessness will lessen. In its place, a new quality may begin to emerge, a sense of peace, a quiet clarity. You begin to realize that the void itself is not painful. The pain came from running from it. The pain was the resistance. As you stop resisting, you begin to feel the true nature of the void. It is stillness, it is peace, it is home. This spaciousness you were so afraid of is your own deepest nature. It is the unconditioned awareness that exists before thought, before emotion, before identity. It is the silent watcher we will come to know later. It is the source from which all true creativity, all intuition, and all love arises. You were never empty. You were, and are, infinitely spacious. The echo was simply your own immensity, calling you back to itself. As you become more familiar with this inner space, as you learn to rest in it, you will begin to notice something else with startling clarity. You will see, as if for the first time, the sheer volume of the noise you have been using to insulate yourself from this silence. The inner chatter, the outer demands, the constant, frantic rush of your life will stand out in stark, jarring contrast to the peace you have discovered within. Facing the void inevitably forces you to face the tyranny of the noise you use to escape it. As you sit in the quiet spaciousness of the void, you become acutely aware of the world you have just stepped out of. It is a world governed by a relentless, invisible master, a tyrant whose rule is so absolute we rarely even notice we are its subjects. This is the tyranny of the urgent. It is the unquestioned belief that a full schedule is a full life, that motion is progress, and that to be still is to be left behind. This tyrant's whip is the notification on your screen. Its anthem is the hurried rhythm of your own heart, and its gospel is the glorification of the hustle, the grind, the ceaseless climb. We have become its willing slaves, proudly wearing our exhaustion as a badge of honor, a testament to our importance. We are not human beings anymore. We are human doings, defined by our output, measured by our efficiency, and terrified of an empty space in our calendar. Our lives resemble a river that has forgotten its destination, a torrent of activity rushing blindly and violently towards a sea it does not understand, simply for the sake of movement. It thrashes and churns, eroding its own banks, convinced that its speed is its virtue, unaware that its power is being squandered in the chaos of its own making. This frantic energy creates a whirlwind around us, pulling in tasks, obligations, worries, and dramas, spinning faster and faster until the quiet center is completely lost in the blur of debris. We tell ourselves we are in control, but in truth, we are being carried by the storm of our own creation. The addiction to busyness is the most socially celebrated addiction of our time. It is a powerful anesthetic, a potent numbing agent for the soul. Why do we cling to it so fiercely? Because, on the surface, it works. Busyness provides a powerful, albeit temporary, sense of validation. A long to-do list makes us feel needed. A packed schedule makes us feel important. The sheer volume of our activity becomes a substitute for genuine meaning. We use our busyness as evidence for the prosecution in the case against our own worthlessness. Look how much I am doing, we plead to an invisible judge. Surely, a person this busy cannot be insignificant. Even more powerfully, busyness is the ultimate tool of avoidance. It is the perfect excuse to never have to face the difficult questions, the uncomfortable feelings, or the silent echo of the void. There is no time for existential dread when you have 3 deadlines to meet. There is no space to feel the grief you have been carrying when your phone is buzzing with emails. We use the tyranny of the urgent to shield ourselves from the gravity of the essential. If we are always running, we never have to admit to ourselves what we are running from. At the deepest level, we have fused our very identity to this relentless activity. The first question in any new encounter is almost always, what do you do? We have been conditioned to answer with a job title, a role, a list of responsibilities. Our doing has become our being. To stop doing, then, feels like a form of death. To embrace stillness feels like we are risking our very existence in the eyes of the world. and therefore in our own. The internal conflict this creates is devastating. It is a civil war waged within your own nervous system. Your body, in its profound wisdom, sends you signals. It gives you the gift of fatigue, the tightness in your shoulders, the shallow breath, the headache that begs you to stop. Your soul whispers its deep longing for peace, for unstructured time, for the simple joy of being. But the inner tyrant, the conditioned mind, cracks the whip. It calls you lazy. It shames you for wanting to rest. It fills you with anxiety about all the things you are not accomplishing. The result is a state of perpetual, low-grade friction, an inner grinding of gears that drains your life force more than any physical task ever could. This is why you can have a full night's sleep and wake up exhausted. Your body may have been still, but your mind was running a marathon on a treadmill of worry and obligation. You are not tired from doing too much. You are tired from being torn in two. You are tired from the constant battle between your essential nature and the frantic pace you believe you must maintain to survive. Here lies a turning point, a pivotal realization that can begin to set you free. This relentless busyness is not a virtue. It is not a sign of a well-lived life. It is a symptom of fear. It is, in its own way, a form of profound spiritual laziness. It is lazy because it is easier to react to 1,000 external stimuli than it is to sit in silence and consciously choose one essential action. It is easier to let the world dictate your agenda than it is to consult the quiet wisdom of your own heart. It takes no real courage to be busy, but it takes immense courage to be still. It takes strength to pause, to disappoint others, to say no. True power is not found in the quantity of your motion, but in the quality of your stillness. It is in the silent space between the stimulus and the response that wisdom is born. Action that springs from this stillness is potent, precise, and effective. Action that springs from frantic compulsion is chaotic, wasteful, and draining. Wisdom is found in the pause. It is in the pause that you reclaim your power from the tyrant. The tool for this reclamation is exquisitely simple. It is a single question, a sacred inquiry that you can insert into the machinery of your day to bring it to a grinding, momentary halt. Before you reply to that email, before you accept that invitation, before you take on that new project, before you even allow a worry to take root in your mind, stop, take one conscious breath, and ask yourself, is this essential? Not, is this urgent? The tyrant deals only in the currency of urgency. The non-essential is always masquerading as urgent. The question is this truly essential? Is it essential for my well-being, for my deepest values, for the person I am trying to become? Is it essential to my peace of mind, or to the genuine service of others? Or is it merely a distraction? Is it a product of someone else's agenda? Is it a task I'm doing simply to feel productive, to prove my worth, or to avoid a more important, perhaps more intimidating, inner task? This question is a sword. Wield it without apology. At first, you will be shocked at how much of your day, how much of your life, is consumed by the non-essential. Saying no to these things will feel uncomfortable. It will feel like a transgression. But each time you ask this question and honor the answer, you create a tiny pocket of freedom. You carve out a moment of conscious choice from the bedrock of autopilot. This practice is not about becoming idle or unproductive. It is about shifting your focus from being busy to being effective in the truest sense of the word. You will soon discover a paradox. By doing less, you will accomplish more of what truly matters. By cutting away the clutter, you free up immense amounts of energy. Your actions, now fewer, become more powerful and aligned. They are no longer the frantic splashing of a drowning person, but the focused, graceful strokes of a master swimmer. You move from being a reactive creature, tossed about by the whims of the world, to a creative force, acting from a center of quiet intention. You begin to live your life by design, not by default. As you continue this practice of questioning the essential, Another question will naturally arise. As you stand amidst the wreckage of your non-essential tasks, you will begin to wonder, who wrote this script in the first place? Who told me that this frantic performance was the measure of my life? This relentless rush is so often a role we are playing, an elaborate costume we have put on to win the approval of an audience we cannot even see. We begin to realize that our busyness is just one of many masks, and it is growing heavier by the day. This frantic rush is often fueled by a script written by others. We are merely actors playing a role, wearing costumes that have grown heavy. And this brings us to the heart of a profound and silent exhaustion, the source of a deep, unnamed ache that haunts so many of us in the quiet hours. We must speak of the weight of 1,000 masks. Have you felt it? The sheer exhaustion of upholding the performance. The subtle, constant clenching in your jaw. The tension in your shoulders, the feeling of being a puppet whose strings are pulled by the expectations of everyone you meet. For your parents, you wear the mask of the dutiful child, the one who makes them proud, the one who follows the prescribed path. For your employer, you wear the mask of the unflappable professional, the one who is always competent, always in control, never showing a flicker of doubt or fatigue. For your friends, perhaps it is the mask of the entertainer, the strong one, the advisor, the one who never needs help but is always there to give it. For your partner, another mask, carefully constructed to be desirable, to be stable, to be what you believe they need you to be. And online, for the world of strangers, the most polished mask of all, a curated mosaic of success, happiness, and effortless perfection. Each mask has its own posture, its own vocabulary, its own set of permissible emotions. We become master contortionists of the soul, bending and twisting ourselves into shapes that we hope will be met with approval, with acceptance, with love. The weight of this is not metaphorical. It is a real and felt experience. It is the energy you expend every single day, not on living, but on managing these multiple, often conflicting identities. It is a constant, low-grade drain on your life force. You become a walking contradiction, a collection of personas so vast that the true inhabitant of your body becomes a stranger. There is a deep and aching loneliness that comes from this, a loneliness that can exist even in a crowded room, because you realize that no one there truly sees you. They see the representative you have sent in your place. They applaud the mask, they admire the costume, but the real you, the vulnerable, messy, uncertain, and beautiful you, remains hidden, unseen, and unfed. This is the source of the hollow feeling, the sense that even when you achieve what you are supposed to want, even when the applause comes, it sounds distant, as if it were for someone else. And in a way, it is. The praise never lands, because it is not directed at your core. It lands on the surface, on the shell, while the spirit within starves for a single glance of genuine recognition. The inner conflict becomes a constant, silent war. There is a part of you, a deep, primal yearning, that wants to rip them all off. It screams for the relief of authenticity, for the simple, liberating joy of being one, consistent self. It craves the freedom to say I don't know, or I am scared, or I am tired, without the fear of catastrophic failure or abandonment. This desire for wholeness, for integration, is the soul's cry for home. But it is met with a powerful adversary, the fear, an ancient, deeply ingrained terror. The masks were not created for no reason. They were forged in the fires of experience, often in childhood, as a survival mechanism. You learned, perhaps, that showing sadness led to dismissal, that showing anger led to punishment, that showing your true, quirky self led to ridicule. And so you created a better representative, a safer ambassador to navigate the world. The mask became your armor. The conflict, then, is between the part of you that is suffocating inside the armor and the part that believes, with every fiber of its being, that to remove it would be to stand naked and defenseless on a battlefield. If they see the real me, the fear whispers, they will leave. If they know I am not as strong, or as smart, or as perfect as I pretend to be, I will be rejected. I will be judged. I will be alone. And so you keep the armor on, even though it is crushing you. You choose the familiar pain of the performance over the terrifying unknown of authenticity. You choose the exhaustion of being 1,000 different people over the perceived risk of being just one. But here lies the profound, transformative truth, the core message that can begin to set you free. Authenticity is not the weakness the ego fears it to be. It is the highest form of courage and the most potent expression of strength. Tháo bỏ mặt nạ không phải là một hành động của sự yếu đuối, mà là sự biểu hiện của lòng dũng cảm và sức mạnh tối thượng. Authenticity is the resonance of the soul. Think of a perfectly tuned instrument. When it is struck, it produces a clear, pure note that vibrates with effortless power. This is authenticity. It is the alignment of your inner truth with your outer expression. It is not about being perfect or flawless. It is about being real. It is the courage to let your human messiness be seen. And its power is magnetic. While the masks may earn you conditional approval, authenticity earns you genuine connection. It creates a space where others feel safe to remove their masks as well. It is a quiet revolution that begins with a single act of courage. The energy you once spent on upholding the facade is now freed up, reclaimed, and becomes available for true living, for creating, for loving, for being. The universe does not respond to the mask you wear. It responds to the vibration you are. When you are in a state of authentic resonance, you begin to attract experiences and people that are in harmony with your true self, not with your performance. So how do we begin this unraveling? It starts not with a grand, dramatic gesture, but with a small, intimate practice. It starts with the mirror. I invite you to try this, not as a task, but as an act of profound self-reclamation. Find a time when you can be alone, undisturbed, for just a few minutes. Stand before a mirror. Your first instinct may be to check your appearance, to notice a flaw, to groom yourself. Resist this. Your task is not to look at your reflection, but to look through it. Look into your own eyes, hold your own gaze. It will feel uncomfortable. The masks will want to rise. The inner critic will begin its commentary. Let it all happen, but keep your gaze steady. And as you look into your own eyes, past the tired actor, past the weary performer, ask this simple, silent question. Who are you, truly, behind all the stories? Ask it with genuine curiosity, with a deep longing to meet the person you have kept hidden for so long. Do not search for an answer in words. The mind will rush in with labels. I am a mother. I am an artist. I am a good person. Let those thoughts float by like clouds. The answer you are listening for is not a thought. It is a feeling, a presence, a stillness. In that moment of sustained, loving attention, something begins to soften. The armor begins to feel a little looser. You are peeling back the first layer of the onion. There may be tears. There may be a profound sense of sadness for all the years you have spent in hiding. Let it come. This is part of the homecoming. You are re-establishing a connection with the most important person in your life, your true self. This is not a one-time cure. It is a practice. It is a returning again and again to your own gaze. Each time you do it, you strengthen that connection. You build trust with yourself. You are slowly, gently, teaching the frightened part of you that it is safe to be seen, that you will not abandon yourself. This is the beginning of the end for the tyranny of the masks. You start to notice their falseness in your daily life. You feel the uncomfortable friction when you are about to say something you don't mean, or smile, a smile that doesn't reach your eyes. You begin to make small, courageous choices. You say a gentle no instead of a resentful yes. You share a small vulnerability with a trusted friend. You allow a moment of silence instead of filling it with nervous chatter. Each small act is a vote for your own soul. Each choice to be real, however minor, is a crack in the old facade. You are not destroying the masks, you are simply outgrowing them. You are realizing that the protection they once offered has now become a prison, and you, the prisoner, hold the key. When the masks begin to fall, we are left in a disorienting silence. The constant chatter of the performance ceases. The roles are retired. We are no longer defined by what we do or who we are to others. We are left simply with what is. In this silence, which can at first feel like an abyss, we are given a profound gift. For the first time, free from the noise of the performance, we can begin to hear the subtle, constant, and unwavering voice of the one who was there all along, the one who was watching the entire play from the audience of your soul. We begin to hear the whisper of the silent watcher. As the masks begin to fall, we are left in a disorienting silence. The clamor of the performance fades, the energy of upholding the facade recedes, and we are left standing in the quiet aftermath. This silence can feel at first like a void, an unnerving emptiness where the familiar characters used to be. The dutiful child, the competent professional, the charming friend, they have all left the stage. And in their absence, a profound question echoes in the stillness. If I am not these roles, then who am I? This is the most important question you will ever ask, and its answer is not found in a new identity or another, better mask. The answer is found in the very nature of the one who is asking the question. For the first time, free from the noise of the performance, we can begin to attune our senses to a presence that has been there all along, drowned out by the drama. We can begin to hear the subtle, constant, and unwavering whisper of the silent watcher. To understand this is to uncover the most fundamental illusion under which humanity has lived. Since the moment you could form the thought I, you have been taught to complete that sentence with a label. I am John. I am Jane. I am smart. I am slow. I am anxious. I am happy. We have fused our sense of being, our very existence, with the transient contents of our consciousness, our thoughts, our emotions, our sensations, our stories. When a wave of anger rises, the mind immediately declares, I am angry. We become the anger. It possesses us, dictates our words, tenses our body. We do not see it as a temporary energetic event passing through our system. We believe it is the definition of ourself in that moment. When a cloud of sadness descends, the mind says, I am sad. We collapse into that identity. The world is filtered through the lens of that sadness, and we believe that this state is who we are. This is the great error of identity. We have mistaken the fluctuations of the weather for the sky itself. We have become so hypnotized by the movie playing on the screen that we have forgotten we are the screen, the silent, changeless space upon which all images appear and dissolve. The inner conflict, then, is between this deeply ingrained habit of identification and the nascent ability to simply witness. It is the tug-of-war between I am the storm and the quiet, revolutionary realization, I am aware that a storm is passing through. The first is a state of enslavement. The second is the beginning of all freedom. The silent watcher is this awareness. It is not something you need to create, achieve, or cultivate. You cannot lose it, and you did not earn it. It is the fundamental ground of your being. It is the consciousness that is looking through your eyes right now, hearing these words. It has been with you every second of your life. It was there when you took your first breath. It was the silent witness to your childhood joys and fears. It observed your teenage heartbreaks and your adult triumphs. It has watched every thought, every feeling, every dream, every memory come and go. Thoughts are born, they linger for a moment, and they die. Emotions surge, they crest, and they subside. Your body changes, your beliefs change, your relationships change, your world changes. The one constant, the only thing that has been present through your entire life's journey, is the consciousness that has been silently watching it all unfold. This is the core message, the key that unlocks the cage of the mind. You are not the storm, you are the sky. Imagine the vast, open, limitless sky. It holds everything. It holds the brilliant, life-giving sun. It holds the dark, thundering storm clouds. It holds the gentle rain, the violent hail, the soft, drifting fog, and the whimsical, fluffy clouds of a summer afternoon. The weather is constantly changing, endlessly dramatic. But does the weather ever harm the sky? Does a thunderstorm leave a scar on the sky? Does the sun burn a hole in it? Number. The sky is the space that allows all weather to be, to happen, to pass. It is untouched, unchanged, and unharmed by the content of its experience. Now, see your thoughts and emotions as the weather. They are transient, impersonal, energetic phenomena passing through the vast, open space of your awareness. You are that space. You are the sky. When you truly grasp this, not as an intellectual concept, but as a lived reality, your relationship with your own mind changes forever. You no longer need to fight your thoughts or suppress your feelings. You don't need to struggle with the storm. You simply rest as the sky, allowing the storm to be what it is, knowing it will pass. This realization is the beginning of all freedom. You are the silent, unmoving mountain, witnessing the clouds of thought drift across your face, feeling the winds of emotion blow against your surface, yet remaining rooted, stable, and deeply at peace in your own being. The practical entry point into this profound shift of identity is a practice of exquisite simplicity. It is the practice of labeling your thoughts. I invite you to try this now, or the next time you have a quiet moment. Sit comfortably. You may close your eyes if you wish. Simply be still and wait. It will not take long. A thought will inevitably arise. Perhaps it is a memory from yesterday. Perhaps it is a plan for tomorrow. Perhaps it is a judgment about the room you are in, or a worry about a task you must complete. The old habit is to grab onto that thought and follow it. If the thought is, I need to email my boss, you immediately follow it down a path of associated thoughts about the content of the email, your boss's likely reaction, your workload, your career, and so on. You are instantly lost in the thought stream. The practice of the watcher is different. When the thought I need to email my boss arises, you simply and gently notice it, and in the back of your mind, you apply a soft label, planning, or simply thinking, and then you let it go. You release your grip on it and return to the silence. Another thought will come, a memory of a past hurt. Instead of diving into the story and the emotion, you label it, remembering, and you let it go. A flicker of anxiety about the future. You label it, worrying, and you let it go. The goal here is not to stop the thoughts. That is an impossible and frustrating task. Trying to stop thinking is just another, more agitated thought. The goal is to break the spell of identification. With each label, you are performing a revolutionary act. You are stepping out of the stream and sitting on the riverbank. You are shifting your identity from the thought itself to the one who is aware of the thought. You are no longer the actor lost in the drama. You are the audience, watching the play with a calm, dispassionate interest. At first, the mind will be very busy, and you will be labeling constantly. This is normal. Do not judge this. Simply continue the practice, thinking, worrying, judging, remembering. With persistence, something miraculous begins to happen. Gaps of silence will start to appear between the thoughts. At first, they may be fleeting, just a second or two of pure, thought-free awareness. But in these gaps, you will taste true peace. You will experience your own unbound nature. This is the space of the silent watcher. This is your home. As you practice this, a natural space begins to open up in your daily life. You will find yourself in the middle of a stressful situation, and you will notice the rising energy of anger or fear within you. But because you have practiced, you do not immediately become it. There is a moment of choice, a sacred pause. You can observe the anger as you would observe a dark cloud in the sky. You can feel its energy in your body without letting it dictate your actions or words. You are no longer a slave to your own reactions. You are free to choose a response that comes from a place of wisdom and clarity. from the vastness of the sky rather than from the turbulence of the storm. This is not suppression. Suppression is pushing the feeling down, pretending it isn't there, which only causes it to fester. This is awareness. It is allowing the feeling to be there, in the loving, non-judgmental space of your own consciousness, until it naturally dissolves, as all things do. This is the path of true emotional mastery. This shift from content to container, from thought to awareness, is the single most powerful transformation you can undergo. It is the source of the unshakable peace that the sages speak of. It is a peace that is not dependent on outer circumstances being a certain way. It is a peace that exists right in the middle of the marketplace, in the heart of the storm, because you have discovered that you are not the chaos, you are the silence that holds the chaos. You have come home to yourself. As we practice being the sky, as we become more accustomed to resting in this open, spacious awareness, we naturally become more aware of the patterns of the weather. We begin to notice the persistent clouds, the ones that return again and again, casting the same familiar shadows over our inner landscape. We become acutely aware of one particular type of cloud, a dark and noisy storm front that carries with it the lightning of judgment and the thunder of self-criticism. We are now ready to turn our loving awareness toward this storm. We are ready for a dialogue with the inner critic. As we practice being the sky, resting in the open, spacious awareness that is our true nature, we become acutely aware of the patterns of our inner weather. We notice the fleeting clouds of ordinary thought, the gentle rains of melancholy, the warm sun of joy. But there is one particular weather pattern we can no longer ignore. It is a persistent and noisy storm front, a dark cloud that follows us, casting a familiar shadow over our inner landscape. It carries with it the sharp lightning of judgment and the low, rolling thunder of self-criticism. This is the voice of the inner critic, and for many of us, it is the soundtrack to our lives. It is the relentless narrator who whispers, and sometimes shouts, that we are not good enough, not smart enough, not worthy. It is the voice that says, "Don't even try, you will only fail. Look at what you did, you fool. Everyone else is better than you." We are now ready to turn the loving light of our awareness toward this storm. We are ready for a dialogue with the inner critic. To begin this dialogue, we must first understand the critic's origin story. This voice, that sounds so authoritative, so much like the voice of truth, is not your own. It is an echo. It is a ghost. It is the internalized voice of every person and every message that ever made you feel small, ashamed, or afraid. It is the echo of a critical parent, a demanding teacher, a cruel playground bully. It is the collected voice of a society that bombards us with images of unattainable perfection. It is the sound of past pain, recorded and played back on a loop within the psyche. This critic was born not of malice, but of a desperate, misguided attempt at self-protection. It formed in a young mind that came to a simple, tragic conclusion. The world is not safe. To show my true self, with all my imperfections and vulnerabilities, is to invite pain, ridicule, or abandonment. If I can criticize myself first, if I can find all my own flaws before anyone else does, maybe I can fix them. Maybe I can preempt the attack from the outside by attacking myself on the inside. If I am harder on myself than anyone else could ever be, maybe I will finally be safe. Maybe I will finally be worthy of love. And so, the inner critic became the warden of your soul, a preemptive strike force designed to keep you small in order to keep you safe. This is the source of a profound inner conflict. On one hand, you have the life force within you, the spirit that wants to create, to explore, to risk, to love, to express itself fully. On the other hand, you have this relentless inner warden, whose entire job is to shut down that expression for fear of the consequences. This is the feeling of having one foot on the accelerator and one foot on the brake. It is the cause of creative blocks, of procrastination, of the imposter syndrome that haunts even the most successful among us. You feel a spark of inspiration, a desire to start a new project, speak your truth, or open your heart. And immediately, the critic's voice rises to meet it. Who are you to do that? You don't have the talent. You will only make a fool of yourself. And because you believe this voice is you, because you believe it is the voice of reason and reality, you retreat. The life force recedes, the inspiration dims, and you remain in the familiar, cramped prison of the status quo. This internal battle is utterly exhausting. It consumes vast amounts of your precious energy, leaving you feeling drained and paralyzed, wondering why you can never seem to move forward on the things that truly matter to your heart. Here we arrive at the great turning point, the core message that will shift your entire relationship with this inner voice. The inner critic is not an enemy to be fought, battled, and destroyed. It is a terrified child that needs to be heard, understood, and reassured. Its only power is the power you give it through your belief. For years, you have tried to fight it, to argue with it, to prove it wrong. But you may have noticed, this is a battle you can never win. Fighting the critic is like fighting your own shadow. It only makes it larger and more defined. You are fighting a part of yourself, and in doing so, you are deepening the inner war. The path to freedom is not through aggression, but through compassion. Imagine a small dog barking ferociously in the dark. Its noise is terrifying. But when you switch on the light, you see it as a small, trembling creature, barking out of fear, not malice. The inner critic is this dog. Your loving awareness is the light. When you turn toward the critic with curiosity instead of fear, with compassion instead of condemnation, its power begins to dissolve. You take away its only fuel source, your belief in its authority. The most powerful way to begin this process of compassionate disarmament is to engage the critic directly, not as an enemy, but as a misguided pen pal. I invite you to perform a sacred ritual. Write a letter to your inner critic. Find a quiet space where you will not be disturbed. Take a pen and paper. On the top of the page, give your critic a name. Perhaps it is the judge, or the warden, or even a specific person's name whose voice it has adopted. Then, begin your letter. Start by letting it speak. Write down all the things it says to you. Dear Judge, I hear you. You are telling me that I am incompetent, that I am unlovable, that I am going to fail. Do not censor this. Let its venom, its fear, its relentless negativity pour onto the page. Give it the voice it has always had in your head. Then comes the most revolutionary step. After you have acknowledged what it says, you must validate its intention. Write, I understand why you are telling me these things. I know that, in your own way, you are trying to protect me. You are trying to shield me from failure, from judgment, from the pain of rejection. For all the years you have tried to keep me safe, in the only way you knew how, I want to say thank you. Feel the sincerity in this gratitude. This act of acknowledging its positive intention is profoundly disarming. You are no longer fighting it. You are seeing the fear behind its words. Finally, it is time to gently but firmly reclaim your sovereignty. Right, but I need you to know that your services are no longer required in this capacity. I am an adult now. I have new resources. I have awareness. I have self-compassion. I have the strength to handle failure. I know now that it is a teacher, not an executioner. I have the courage to face judgment. I know now that another's opinion of me is not my reality. Your methods are outdated. Your constant criticism is causing more pain than it prevents. So I am lovingly relieving you of your duty as my protector. I am taking over that job now. You can rest. Feel the truth of this statement as you write it. You are stepping into your own power. You can even give the critic a new, more helpful job. From now on, instead of being a judge of my worth, I invite you to be a consultant for details, to point out potential typos, but to leave the judgment of my soul to me. This is not a one-time fix, but the beginning of a new relationship. After this letter, You will start to notice the critic's voice when it arises. But now, it will sound different. You will recognize it not as the voice of ultimate truth, but as the familiar, fearful chatter of the warden you have come to know. You can greet it with a newfound kindness. When it says, "Don't try that," you'll fail. You can mentally respond, "Thank you for your concern. I hear you, but I'm going to try anyway." You are no longer arguing. You are acknowledging, and then choosing. You are the parent, and it is the child. You listen to its fears, but you, the wise adult, make the final decision. You are moving from a state of unconscious slavery to one of conscious leadership in your own inner world. As you practice this compassionate dialogue, the critic's voice will begin to soften. The constant, thunderous roar will fade to a manageable murmur, and then, often, to a respectful silence. You have not killed it. You have integrated it. You have healed a wounded part of yourself with the balm of your own awareness and love. But this process of befriending the critic inevitably brings up a deeper question. To truly quiet the critic, to allow it to finally rest, we must be brave enough to address its greatest fear. What is it so desperately trying to protect us from? What part of us is so terrifying that it requires such a relentless guard? To find the root of this fear, we must be willing to journey into the very territory the critic has spent a lifetime defending. We must venture deeper into the very shadows it tries to protect us from. As we learn to quiet the inner critic through compassion, we find ourselves standing before a heavily guarded gate. The critic, we now understand, was never the true source of our suffering, but merely the warden of a hidden domain, a sentry posted to keep us away from the parts of ourselves we have deemed unacceptable. To truly quiet that guard, to allow it to finally rest, requires that we do what we have always feared. It requires that we take the key of awareness, turn the lock, and step willingly into the realm it was protecting. We must venture deeper into the very shadows it tried to protect us from. This is the sacred and often intimidating work of embracing the shadow self. The shadow, a term brought into our consciousness by the great psychologist Carl Jung, represents the unknown dark side of our personality. It is a vast psychic container where we have banished every aspect of our nature that did not fit the pristine image of who we thought we were supposed to be. Think of it as the basement of your soul. Into this basement, from a very young age, you cast down every impulse, trait, and emotion that was met with disapproval, punishment, or shame. Your rage, your fierce, untamable anger. It was deemed bad. Down it went. Your envy, your sharp, wanting jealousy, unacceptable. Into the basement. Your greed, your raw sexuality, your so-called laziness, your vulnerability, your fear, all of it was exiled to the darkness, locked away from the pristine, well-lit living room of your conscious personality. But it is not only the dark traits that live in the shadow. Sometimes, even our brightest gold is banished. Perhaps your wild, creative impulses were dismissed as impractical. Your sharp intelligence was seen as threatening, or your profound sensitivity was labeled as weakness. And so, even parts of your brilliance, your power, and your light were cast into the shadow, deemed too much, too bright, too dangerous for the world. The shadow is, quite simply, everything you are that you have convinced yourself you are not. The inner conflict that arises from this is immense. We invest a colossal amount of life force energy in maintaining the good person facade, in keeping the basement door locked and bolted. But the shadow does not simply lie dormant. It is alive, and it wants to be seen. It wants to be integrated. And so, it finds ways to erupt. This is the source of the perplexing contradiction within us, the times we act in ways that horrify our conscious mind. You, who pride yourself on being calm and composed, suddenly explode with a volcanic rage in traffic. You, who sees yourself as a loyal and moral person, find yourself consumed by a bitter, obsessive jealousy. You, who cultivates an image of selflessness, act out of a sudden, selfish impulse. These are shadow eruptions. The longer we repress it, the more powerfully and destructively it forces its way into the light. The more we insist I am not that, the more that will control us from behind the scenes. Furthermore, the shadow manifests through projection. When we have disowned a quality in ourselves, we become hyper-aware and intensely judgmental of it in others. That arrogant co-worker who drives you into a silent fury, he may be mirroring a repressed arrogance in your own shadow. That celebrity whose weakness you despise, she may be showing you a vulnerability you refuse to accept in yourself. The world becomes a screen upon which our own disowned self is projected, and we go around fighting our own shadow in the form of other people, never realizing the battle is entirely within. Here we discover the great alchemical secret of inner work, the core message that turns this journey from one of fear to one of treasure hunting. The gold is found in the dark. Wholeness is not perfection. It is the integration of all that you are. A tree cannot grow magnificent and tall, reaching for the heavens, without first sending its roots deep into the dark, messy, hidden earth. The roots and the branches are of equal importance. In the same way, we cannot become whole, powerful, and truly luminous beings by denying our darkness. The shadow, that terrifying basement, is not a septic tank of pure evil. It is a treasure chest. Yes, it contains our rage, but within that rage is the energy of healthy boundaries and the power to say no. It contains our envy, but within that envy is the key to understanding our deepest desires. It contains our fear, but within that fear is the seed of great courage and wisdom. It contains our grief, and within that grief is our capacity for profound love and connection. To deny the shadow is to live a half-life, cut off from the source of our deepest power and vitality. Embracing the shadow is the process of going down into the basement with a lantern, not to condemn what we find, but to reclaim it, to bring our lost treasures back into the home of our conscious self. It is facing the dragon that guards our own gold. This reclamation begins with a practice of radical honesty and courageous self-reflection. It is the practice of shadow hunting through your reactions to the outer world. I invite you to try this with great gentleness and zero self-judgment. First, identify a person or a type of person who consistently triggers a strong negative emotional response in you. It could be someone you know or a public figure. Get very specific about the trait that bothers you so intensely. Is it their arrogance, their victimhood, their loudness, their passivity? Hold that specific quality in your mind. Now, turn the mirror of inquiry inward. Take a deep breath and ask the question that the ego will fight with all its might. Where is this trait in me? Where in my life do I behave this way, even if only to a small degree? Is there a part of me that secretly wishes it could act this way, but I have forbidden it? Sit with the discomfort. The immediate answer will be, no, not me. I'm not like that. Go deeper. Perhaps you are not overtly arrogant, but do you sometimes act with a subtle sense of superiority in your thoughts? Perhaps you are not a professional victim, but do you sometimes indulge in moments of self-pity? Be a detective of your own soul. The stronger your negative reaction to a trait in someone else, the more certain you can be that it is a significant, disowned piece of your own shadow. Once you have identified the flicker of that trait within you, the next step is not to shame yourself for it. The goal is to own it, to simply acknowledge, ah, yes, I see it now. A part of me is also this. This simple act of seeing and acknowledging is profoundly healing. It is like finding a lost child and saying, I see you. You belong to me too. Come home. The final, alchemical step is to look for the gold within that trait. Ask, what is the positive energy or unmet need that is hidden inside this difficult quality? Behind arrogance may lie a starved need for self-worth. Behind neediness may lie a deep, unmet need for connection and intimacy. Behind laziness may lie a wisdom that your body and soul are crying out for rest, and a rebellion against an inner tyrant that pushes you too hard. By finding this positive core, you can begin to integrate the energy of the shadow in a conscious and healthy way. You reclaim the power that has been locked in the darkness and learn to use it wisely instead of having it erupt and control you. As you engage in this work, you will notice profound changes. You will become less judgmental and more compassionate toward others because you recognize their flaws as reflections of your own. You will feel more solid, more real, more authentic because you are no longer living a lie. The energy you once wasted on repressing your shadow is now available to you, leading to a surge in creativity and vitality. You become more whole. This is not easy work. It requires courage to face the dragon. It requires humility to see our own darkness. It requires a deep well of energy to walk into the basement and begin the process of sorting through what we have hidden there. Embracing our shadow requires immense energy. And to find this energy, to fuel this sacred journey of reclamation, we must first stop the constant, silent hemorrhaging of our life force. We must turn our attention to the open wounds of our personal history and learn to stop leaking our power into the past. The courageous work of embracing our shadow requires a tremendous reserve of inner strength. It is the psychic equivalent of deep-sea diving, and one cannot venture into those depths without a robust supply of energy. And this brings us to one of the most significant and often unconscious drains on our life force. We must address the way we are constantly, silently leaking our power into the unchangeable landscape of the past. Imagine you are a magnificent ship built for navigating the vast ocean of life. You have a powerful engine, a strong hull, and a clear destination on the horizon. Yet, you find yourself struggling to move forward. The engine strains, you feel stuck in the same familiar waters, and progress is agonizingly slow. This is because, unseen beneath the surface, a heavy anchor is lodged deep in the mud of yesterday. This anchor is forged from your unhealed wounds, your unresolved griefs, your unforgiven resentments. It is the collection of every story, every trauma, every betrayal that you still carry as a living, breathing part of your present moment identity. The psychological truth is that the past is not past so long as it remains unhealed. An emotional wound that is not processed and released does not simply fade with time. It crystallizes within our being. It becomes a dense knot of energy in our body, a rigid belief system in our mind, an invisible script that subconsciously directs our behavior. This is why you may find yourself repeating the same destructive patterns in relationships, reacting with disproportionate fear to certain situations, or carrying a baseline of sadness or anxiety that seems to have no specific cause. You are not reacting to the present moment. You are reacting to the ghost of the past that the present moment has triggered. The true tragedy, however, is not just that we are anchored, it is that on some deep, unconscious level, we often cling to the anchor itself. The identity of the one who was wronged, the survivor of a great injustice, or the person with a difficult past can become a central pillar of who we believe we are. The story of our pain becomes our story. We know its contours, its familiar aches, its bitter justifications. To let go of the pain can feel, terrifyingly, like letting go of our very self. Who would I be without my grievances? Who would I be without this story that has defined me for so long? This gives rise to a profound inner conflict. The conscious, adult part of you yearns for freedom. It wants to sail into the open ocean, to feel the wind of possibility in its sails, to be powerful, creative, and joyful. It wants to take full responsibility for its own happiness. But the wounded part of you, often a younger, unhealed aspect of your psyche, clings to the role of the victim. There is a perceived safety in victimhood. It can absolve us of the frightening responsibility of creating our own lives. It can garner sympathy. It provides a ready-made explanation for why our lives are not as we wish them to be. And so the war rages within, the desire for freedom clashing with the unconscious attachment to a familiar suffering. We say we want to move on, but we spend our precious mental and emotional energy replaying old scenes, rehashing old arguments, and keeping the embers of old resentments burning. This is the definition of leaking our power into a place where it can do no work. You are watering a garden that is dead. The turning point, the moment you begin to pull up the anchor, arrives with this liberating and radical core message. You cannot change one single molecule of the past, but you have the absolute power to change your relationship with it in this very moment. Healing is not forgetting. It is not condoning the actions of others or pretending the pain did not happen. It is an act of profound alchemy. It is the courage to take the lead of your suffering and transform it into the gold of wisdom, compassion, and strength. The scar tissue that forms over a healed wound is stronger than the original skin. In the same way, the part of you that has been wounded, once truly healed, becomes a source of your greatest strength, your deepest empathy, and your most unshakable resilience. Healing is the ultimate act of self-reclamation. It is a declaration that you will no longer allow the events of yesterday to dictate the quality of your today. You are taking your power back from the people and circumstances of your past and bringing it home to the only place it can be used, right here, right now. To begin this process of reclamation, we can engage in a powerful, tangible ritual of release. This is not about intellectual understanding, it is about energetic completion. I invite you to create a sacred space for yourself, a time when you will be completely alone and undisturbed. Choose one wound, one memory that still holds an emotional charge for you. It does not have to be your biggest trauma. Start with a single heavy stone from the riverbed of your past. Take your pen and paper, and for 10, 15, or 20 minutes, I want you to free write. This means you write continuously without stopping, without editing, and without any concern for grammar or making sense. The purpose is to bypass the conscious mind and allow the raw, uncensored emotion from the wound to pour out of you and onto the page. Write about what happened. Write about how it made you feel. Write the things you wish you had said. Swear, cry, rage, grieve. Let the poison out. Let the paper become the container for the pain you have carried in your body for so long. When the time is up, or when you feel you have emptied yourself, put the pen down. Now, read what you have written, but do not read it as the victim. Read it as the silent watcher, as the compassionate sky. Witness the pain of your younger self without judgment. Acknowledge the reality of what you experienced. See the anger, the fear, the shame. See it all with love. Then, the final, crucial step, the release. You must now destroy the paper in a way that feels symbolic to you. You can safely burn it, watching the stories and the pain turn to smoke and ash, rising and dissipating into the universe. You can take it to a river and let the water dissolve it. Or you can tear it into the smallest possible pieces, with the intention that with each tear, you are breaking the power of that story over you. As you perform this physical act, hold a powerful, clear intention in your mind and heart. Say to yourself, I release this story. I release this pain. I take back all of my power, all of my energy that has been tied up in this moment. It is over. It no longer defines me. I am free. This is not magic. It is a profound act of psychological and energetic hygiene. You are signaling to every level of your being that you are choosing to let go. This is not a one-time event. You may have many such anchors to lift, many stones to release, but with each one you address, you will feel a palpable shift. A lightness enters your being. The river of your life, once blocked and dammed by these boulders from the past, begins to flow again. You will find that you are less reactive, because situations in the present are no longer triggering the unhealed wounds of the past. You begin to experience the profound freedom of living in the now, responding to what is rather than what was. You are no longer sailing with a heavy, hidden drag. Your ship is lighter, faster, more responsive. You are reclaiming the vast ocean of your own potential. As we release the anchors of the past, as we clear out the dense energy of old grievances and sorrows, we do not create a void. We create sacred space. We create a fertile emptiness within our own being. And it is into this newly cleared inner landscape that we can now begin to plant a new kind of garden, to consciously cultivate a new and powerful energy, a new frequency that has the power to reshape our reality from the inside out. We can begin to cultivate the frequency of gratitude. As we release the heavy anchors of the past, a profound and sacred space opens within us. We have cleared the inner ground, pulling up the weeds of old resentments and removing the boulders of ancient grief. This new emptiness is not a void to be feared, but a field of pure potential, fertile and waiting. The crucial question now becomes, what will we choose to plant in this newly reclaimed soil? We could allow the winds of chance to sow the familiar seeds of worry and lack, or we can become conscious gardeners of our own soul. We can choose, with deliberate intention, to cultivate the most powerful, reality-altering frequency available to us. We can begin the practice of cultivating gratitude. Let us first dismantle the superficial understanding of this immense power. In our society, gratitude is often treated as a polite courtesy, a moral obligation, a simple thank you muttered as an afterthought. This is like comparing a child's drawing of the sun to the sun itself. True gratitude is not a mannerism, it is a state of being. It is a fundamental shift in consciousness that alters the very lens through which you perceive the world. The default state of the untrained mind, conditioned for survival, is one of lack. It is constantly scanning the horizon for what is wrong, what is missing, what is threatening, what needs to be fixed. It lives in a state of perpetual dissatisfaction, always chasing the next goal, the next acquisition, the next achievement, believing that happiness lies just over the horizon. This is the source of endless striving and a quiet, persistent exhaustion. Gratitude is the conscious rebellion against this state. It is the decision to withdraw your attention from the perceived lack and to place it, with intention, on the abundance that is already present. It is not about ignoring life's challenges, but about shifting your energetic center of gravity from what is wrong to what is right. To understand its power, we must speak of it in terms of energy, of vibration. The universe, in its infinite nature, is broadcasting all possibilities at all times. Imagine it as a radio with an infinite number of stations. There is a station for despair, a station for anger, a station for boredom, a station for anxiety. There is also a station for joy, a station for peace, a station for abundance, and a station for connection. Your state of being, the sum total of your dominant thoughts and feelings, is the tuner on this radio. If your tuner is set to the frequency of complaint, you cannot hear the music of joy. If your energetic signature is one of lack and frustration, you are vibrationally deaf to the broadcast of abundance. It's not that the abundance isn't there, it's that you are not tuned to its frequency. Gratitude is the act of consciously, deliberately reaching out and turning your inner dial. It is the act of tuning yourself to the frequency of grace, of sufficiency, of all that is good and true in your life right now. This brings us to the core message, a law of the energetic universe as real as gravity. The universe does not give you what you want. It gives you a reflection of who you are. Your life is a mirror. It does not respond to your pleas or your wishes, but to your fundamental vibration. When you exist in a state of genuine gratitude, you become a magnet for more experiences, people, and circumstances that will evoke that same feeling. You are sending out a clear, powerful signal. I am one who has plenty. I am one who is cared for. I am one who sees beauty. And the universal law of resonance must, by its very nature, bring you more evidence to support that broadcast. Holding a grudge, focusing on lack, and complaining about your circumstances is like trying to build a beautiful home using rotten materials. Practicing gratitude is like building the foundation of your life with solid gold. It is the ultimate cause, not just the effect. This is why gratitude is the tuning fork of the soul. When you strike it, your entire being begins to resonate at its pure, high frequency, and the world around you has no choice but to harmonize with that tone. The inner conflict, then, is between the deeply ingrained habit of the complaining mind and the conscious choice of the grateful heart. The mind is a magnificent tool, but its default programming is negative. It's a master of finding problems. You could receive 10 compliments and 1 criticism, and the mind will obsess over the criticism for days. This is not a personal failing. It is an outdated survival mechanism at work. But you are not just your mind. You are the consciousness that contains the mind. The practice of gratitude is the practice of gently unhooking from the mind's litany of complaints and dropping into the deeper wisdom of your heart, your essence. It is the choice to override the old programming with a new, more powerful command. It is to say to the complaining mind, "Thank you for sharing. I see you, and now I am choosing to focus on this." This powerful practice begins with humble simplicity. I invite you to make a commitment, starting today, to anchor your day in gratitude. When you first wake up, before your mind has a chance to begin its daily download of worries and to-do lists, or as the very last thing you do before you fall asleep, bring to mind 3 specific things for which you are grateful. And here, specificity is key. Vague gratitude, like "I'm grateful for my life," has little power. It is too abstract. The power is in the particular. I am grateful for the deep comfort of my bed and the warmth of these blankets against my skin. I am grateful for the sound of the rain outside my window, a sound that brings me peace. I am grateful for that one smile a stranger gave me today, a moment of unexpected human connection. Choose small, real, tangible things. And now, the most important step of all. This is not a mental exercise. It is a full-body experience. As you bring each item to mind, do not just think it, feel it. As you think of the warm blankets, actually feel the sensation of warmth and comfort in your body. Let a wave of genuine appreciation, however subtle, wash through your chest. As you think of the stranger's smile, recall the feeling it gave you, that momentary lightness. Let that feeling expand within you. The feeling is the prayer. The felt sense in your body is the frequency you are generating. It is the signal you are sending out to the universe. Spend just a minute or 2 truly marinating in these feelings. You are actively rewiring your brain and recalibrating your entire energy field. You are starting your day, or ending it, by striking the tuning fork of gratitude, setting a resonant tone that will carry you forward. As you commit to this simple practice, the effects will begin to ripple out into your life in ways that will astound you. You will start to notice more beauty on your walk to work. The food you eat will taste better. You will find yourself more patient, less easily irritated. You will experience moments of spontaneous joy for no apparent reason. You will become a source of quiet, positive energy, and people will be more drawn to you. It is not that the world has changed, it is that you have changed, and so your perception of the world is transformed. You have taken off the gray-tinted glasses of lack and put on the golden-hued glasses of gratitude. From this state, challenges are still challenges, but you meet them from a place of resourcefulness and grace, not from a place of deficit and fear. This practice, this conscious cultivation of a grateful heart, is the most direct path to shifting your reality. It is the foundation upon which all other inner work can be built. It fills the space cleared by forgiveness and shadow work with light and grace. This frequency of gratitude does more than simply make you feel good. It purifies your entire energetic system. It quiets the noisy static of lower vibration emotions like fear, anger, and despair. And as this static clears, the channel of your inner wisdom becomes profoundly more accessible. In the quiet clarity and peace that gratitude creates, a much more subtle and vital signal can finally be heard. We begin to hear the whisper of our own deep knowing. We begin to find our true north. The frequency of gratitude, when practiced consistently, does something remarkable to our inner world. It acts like a clarifying agent in cloudy water. The sediment of past grievances, future anxieties, and present complaints begins to settle, and the water of our consciousness becomes clear. It is in this newfound clarity, this pristine inner silence, that we can begin to perceive a signal that was previously drowned out by the noise. It is a signal of immense subtlety and profound wisdom. It is the gentle, steady pull of our own inner guidance system. As the static of the mind subsides, we finally create the space to notice the constant, unwavering light of our own North Star. We begin to find our true north by learning the language of the inner compass. This inner compass, often called intuition or a gut feeling, is not a magical or fanciful invention. It is a natural, innate form of human intelligence, one that we were all born with but have been systematically taught to distrust. The logical, analytical mind, the part of us that thinks in words and sequences, is a powerful tool. It can analyze data, follow instructions, and solve problems based on known information. It operates within the realm of the known. Intuition, however, operates from a much vaster field. It is the holistic intelligence of your entire being, your subconscious mind, your energetic body, and your connection to the universal field of consciousness, all processing an immense amount of information simultaneously and delivering the result not as a spreadsheet, but as a single, clear knowing. It is the quiet whisper beneath the roar of 1,000 thoughts. It is the underground river current that knows the way to the ocean, even when the surface landscape is confusing and unfamiliar. One of the greatest challenges on the inner journey is learning to distinguish the true voice of intuition from the deceptive voices of fear and desire. They can sound alike at first, but their energetic signatures are worlds apart. Fear is loud, frantic, and emotionally charged. It screams in your mind with a litany of what-ifs and worst-case scenarios. It feels constricting, tight, and heavy in your body. It almost always argues for the status quo, for staying in the familiar cage, because its sole purpose is to avoid risk and perceived danger. Desire is also loud. It is grasping, needy, and urgent. It promises that your happiness depends on attaining a specific outcome, person, or object. It feels like a craving, a desperate leaning forward. Intuition, by contrast, is almost always calm. It is quiet, clear, and neutral. It does not try to convince you with a long, convoluted story. It often arrives as a simple, direct statement. Take this street. Don't sign that contract. Call that person. It doesn't have a heavy emotional charge. It just feels true. The guidance of intuition feels expansive. It leads you toward growth, wholeness, and your own highest good, even if the path it suggests seems illogical or makes no sense to your rational mind. The inner conflict we face is the result of a lifetime of conditioning. As children, we were natural intuitives. We knew instinctively who to trust and who to avoid. We felt things. But when we expressed this knowing, we were often invalidated by the adults around us. Don't be silly. There's nothing to be afraid of. That's just your imagination. We learned a painful lesson. Our inner knowing is not reliable. The authorities outside of user parents, our teachers, our society know better. And so we began a long and tragic process of self-betrayal. We severed the connection to our own inner compass and learned to navigate life by looking constantly outside of ourselves for direction. We consult experts, we poll our friends, we search the internet for answers to the most intimate questions of our hearts. The conflict is between the ingrained habit of seeking external validation and the terrifying, liberating act of claiming your own inner authority. It is the choice between the perceived safety of consensus and the sovereign courage of trusting the wisdom that flows through your own being. The core message here is one of profound empowerment. Logic can get you from A to B, but intuition can take you anywhere. Your rational mind can help you follow a map created by others, but your intuition can guide you through uncharted territory where no map exists. It is your direct line to the creative intelligence of the universe. Your intuition is the whisper of the universe, speaking directly to you. To re-establish this sacred connection, we must learn to listen not with our ears, but with our entire body. The body is the antenna for the soul, and it does not know how to lie. This leads us to a simple yet profoundly effective practice for consulting the inner compass, especially when faced with a decision. Find a quiet moment and bring a decision you are grappling with into your mind. It could be large or small. Close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and place a hand over your heart or over your gut, wherever you tend to feel things most deeply. Now, consider the first option. Imagine you have already chosen it. Don't think about the pros and cons. The logical mind has done that enough. Your task now is simply to feel. As you visualize this choice, what happens in your body? Notice the subtle sensations. Is there a feeling of expansion, of lightness, of openness? Does your chest seem to relax and open up, even slightly? Does it feel like a subtle yes? This is the feeling of alignment. Now, let that scenario go completely. Take another deep breath to clear the space. Then, visualize the second option. Imagine you have chosen this path. Again, tune into your body. What are the physical sensations? Is there a sense of contraction, of tightness, of heaviness? Does your stomach clench, your throat tighten, or your shoulders tense up? Does it feel like a subtle or perhaps not so subtle no? This is the feeling of resistance. Your body, your inner compass, is giving you a clear binary answer that transcends all the mental arguments. The expansive feeling is go. The contractive feeling is stop. Learning to trust this somatic wisdom is the key to mastering your intuition. Trust is a muscle. It grows stronger with use. You may not be ready to bet your entire life on a gut feeling right away, and that's okay. Begin with small things. When deciding what to eat, pause and feel what your body truly wants, rather than what your mind thinks it should have. When deciding which route to take home, check in with your compass and follow the nudge, even if it's not the usual way. When you get a sudden impulse to reach out to an old friend, honor it. Start to build a body of evidence. Keep a journal of these small intuitive hits and their outcomes. As you see, time and time again, that your inner guidance leads you toward positive and synchronistic experiences, your trust will grow. You are re-establishing a relationship with the wisest part of yourself, a part you have ignored for far too long. You are learning to listen to the whispers before they have to become screams. This journey of relearning to trust your inner compass is one of the most rewarding you will ever undertake. It is the path back to your own sovereignty, your own truth. It is the realization that the wisest guru you will ever find is the silent, knowing presence within your own heart. Your North Star has been there all along, patiently waiting in the sky of your being. The frequency of gratitude cleared the clouds, and now you are learning to look up and read its light. But following this star, this inner guidance, often asks something very challenging of us. It asks us to walk paths that our logical mind cannot justify and toward destinations we cannot yet see. It requires us to surrender our rigid timetables and our detailed 5-year plans. Trusting the inner compass requires us to let go of our desperate need to control every outcome. It requires us to learn the art of allowing. As we learn to hear and trust the quiet guidance of our inner compass, we are inevitably led to a profound and challenging threshold. The compass points, the intuition whispers a direction, but the thinking mind, the ego, rebels. The mind wants a guarantee. It wants a detailed map, a predictable outcome, a controllable future. It sees the intuitive path as a reckless leap into the unknown, and its response is to grip the controls of our life with white-knuckled intensity. This desperate need to manage, to force, to control every outcome is the ego's primary survival strategy. It operates from a deep-seated fear that if we do not impose our will upon the world, chaos will ensue and we will be consumed by it. And so we live in a state of constant, low-grade tension. bracing ourselves against the unpredictable flow of life, trying to bend reality to our preferences. This is utterly exhausting, and it is the source of most of our anxiety and stress. To follow our true north, we must first learn the paradoxical and powerful practice that our entire society has taught us to fear. We must learn the art of allowing. Let us be clear about the nature of this inner controller. It is the part of you that rehearses conversations before they happen, that tries to manipulate the feelings of others to get a desired response, that micromanages every detail of a plan and panics when things deviate. It is the source of the constant internal pressure to be better, do more, and achieve faster. This controlling impulse is not a character flaw, it is a trauma response. It is the logical conclusion of a psyche that has learned to believe it is separate, alone, and fully responsible for its own survival in a hostile or indifferent universe. It does not trust life, and so it tries to become life's master. The immense stress we feel comes not from the events of our lives themselves, the traffic jam, the unexpected bill, the change of plans, but from our violent inner resistance to them. The event is neutral. Our war against the reality of the event is what creates the suffering. We declare that what is happening should not be happening, and in that declaration, we create a battlefield within our own nervous system. This leads to the great paradox of control. The more desperately we try to control life, the more out of control we feel. The tighter we clench our fist around the sand of experience, the more quickly it slips through our fingers. The ego screams that letting go is failure, that to surrender is to be defeated, that to allow is to become a passive victim of circumstance. It equates surrender with giving up. This is the inner conflict at its most intense. The controlling ego fighting for its illusion of power versus the deeper wisdom of the soul that knows true power lies in release. It is the choice between swimming frantically against the current, exhausting our strength in a futile battle, or turning around, relaxing, and allowing the very same current to carry us effortlessly toward our destination. It is the difference between forced, anxious effort and graceful, powerful flow. Here we must completely redefine our understanding of surrender. This is the core message that unlocks this art form. In the spiritual sense, surrender is not giving up. It is giving over to a higher intelligence. It is a profound act of courage and trust. It is the conscious decision to align your small personal will with the vast intelligent will of the universe itself. The same intelligence that orchestrates the migration of birds, the turning of galaxies, and the unfurling of a fern. To surrender is to acknowledge that you are part of a flow that is infinitely wiser and more powerful than your limited ego mind. It is to move from being the frantic oarsman to being the wise sailor. The sailor does not control the wind or the sea. That would be absurd. Instead, she studies the currents, feels the direction of the wind, and then skillfully aligns her sails to harness that immense natural power. She does not fight the power of the ocean. She partners with it. This is the art of allowing. You let go of the need to control the outcome, and in doing so, you become a perfect conduit for inspired action. So how do we practice this in a world that demands control? We begin by noticing the feeling of resistance in our bodies. That clenched jaw, the tight knot in your stomach, the shallow breathing, these are the physical alarm bells of the inner controller at work. They are a signal that you are at war with what is. The practice is to meet this moment of resistance not with more fighting, but with a radical act of peace. I invite you to use a simple, powerful mantra. The next time you feel that inner clenching because something is not going your way, pause. Take one single conscious breath. Then, silently or aloud, say the words, "I accept this moment exactly as it is," or "I allow this to be here now." Let's be very clear about what this means. You are not saying, "I like this traffic jam." You are not saying, "I approve of this person's behavior." You are not declaring that you will take no action. You are simply ceasing the useless, painful, and energy-draining internal war against the fact that it is happening. You are laying down your weapons on the inner battlefield. Feel the shift that occurs in your body when you do this. There is a release, a softening, a letting go. The tension subsides. From this place of inner peace and acceptance, you are now in a far better position to act, if action is required. But the action you take will be different. It will not be a frantic, fear-based reaction. It will be a calm, clear, and wise response. Acceptance is the necessary prerequisite for all wise action. This practice opens the door to a new way of living, a life guided by inspired action rather than anxious effort. Anxious effort comes from the ego. It feels like pushing, forcing, and struggling. It is draining and often produces mediocre results. Inspired action arises from a state of allowing. You let go of your rigid attachment to a specific outcome. You trust your inner compass, and you wait for the intuitive nudge. The action that follows feels effortless, joyful, and energizing. It feels like you are being moved by a force larger than yourself. This is the state of flow, the state where artists create their masterpieces and athletes perform their greatest feats. It is available to all of us when we have the courage to let go of the oars and trust the river. The most elegant, brilliant, and perfect solutions to our problems often appear in the space we create when we stop trying to figure everything out. By practicing the art of allowing, we are learning to dance with life instead of wrestling with it. We are making a profound statement of trust in ourselves and in the universe. We trust that our inner compass knows the way. We trust that the river is flowing toward the ocean. We trust that even when the path is hidden and the destination is unknown, we are being guided. We let go of our need to understand every twist and turn of the journey and simply focus on taking the next, intuitively guided step. This radical acceptance of the unfolding mystery of life has a profound effect on our state of consciousness. It pulls our awareness out of the imaginary worlds of past regrets and future anxieties, the two places where the controlling ego lives. It anchors us firmly and powerfully in the only place where anything ever truly happens. Allowing life to unfold brings us into the profound power of the present moment, the only place where life truly exists. The art of allowing, of surrendering to the intelligent flow of life, has a powerful and immediate consequence. It collapses our awareness out of the imaginary worlds of past and future and anchors it in the only place that has ever been real. By ceasing our war with what is, we arrive fully in its presence. We arrive in the now. This is not simply a moment in time, it is a dimension of consciousness, a sacred space. Imagine that all of life, all of joy, all of peace, all of truth exists inside a single, magnificent room. The door to this room is always unlocked, always available, and it has only one word written on it: now. Allowing life to unfold brings us into the profound power of the present moment, the only place where life truly exists. To grasp the staggering importance of this is to awaken from the dream of time, the dream that causes almost all human suffering. We must draw a distinction between two types of time. The first is clock time. This is the practical dimension of time that we use to schedule appointments, cook a meal, or build a bridge. It is a useful tool for navigating the material world. The second, and far more dominant, is psychological time. This is the creation of the restless mind. It is a constant, compulsive stream of thought that dwells on memory and anticipation. The mind, through its incredible power, creates a phantom self that lives almost exclusively in a past that is gone forever, or a future that is yet to exist. This is the source of our dis-ease. Think of it. Every negative emotion you feel is rooted in psychological time. Guilt, regret, resentment, grievances, these are diseases of the past. Anxiety, stress, worry, tension, fear, these are diseases of the future. The mind keeps you trapped. oscillating between these two unrealities, and in doing so, it causes you to miss the only thing you ever truly have, your life, which is always, and only ever, now. The inner conflict, then, is the constant magnetic pull of the mind away from the present moment. The ego, the phantom self, cannot survive in the now. Its very identity is constructed from the stories of its past. I am the one who suffered, I am the one who achieved, and the promises of its future. I will be happy when I get that. I will be complete when I find them. The simple, spacious, vibrant reality of this present moment feels threateningly empty to the ego. It finds the now boring, or even painful, because there are no problems to solve here. In the now, there is only what is. And so the mind, to maintain its own existence, ceaselessly works to pull you away. It projects you into a future where you might finally be happy, or it drags you back into a past where you can endlessly relive your hurts and triumphs. This constant escapism is a deeply ingrained habit, a powerful addiction. The struggle is between this restless, time-traveling mind and the conscious, gentle, and persistent effort to return, again and again, to the anchor of this moment. Here we arrive at the most liberating truth you may ever encounter, the core message that shatters the prison of psychological time. The present moment is the point of power. It is the only place where you have any agency. You cannot act in the past. It is a memory trace in the mind. You cannot act in the future. It is a mental projection. You can only think, feel, speak, and act now. All of your power to create, to choose, to change, to heal, exists exclusively in this moment. To give your primary attention to the past or the future is to voluntarily give away your power. It is to leak your life force into illusions. You may need to make plans for the future using clock time, but you do so in the now. You may need to learn from the past, but you do so in the now. Your dwelling place is here. Peace is not a future destination you arrive at after you have solved all your problems. Peace is what you find when you dissolve your problems, which are always future-based, by surrendering completely to the present moment. Your life is not the collection of all your yesterdays and all your tomorrows. Your life is this moment, this one, and this one. So how do we break the addiction to time? How do we come home to the now and stay here? We do it not by fighting the mind, but by shifting our attention into the body and the senses. The mind lives in time. The body lives in the now. Your body is your most faithful anchor in the present moment. I invite you to practice this right now, wherever you are. Stop all doing for a moment and simply be. Close your eyes and bring your awareness inside your body. Can you feel the subtle field of energy that pervades your hands? Can you feel the aliveness in your feet, your legs, your arms? This inner body awareness is a direct portal to the now. It is always here. Now, engage your senses. What are the sounds you can hear? Don't label them as a car or a bird. Just listen to the raw vibrations of sound, without commentary. Let the sounds wash through you. Now, what do you feel? Feel the points of contact between your body and the surface you are on. Feel the temperature of the air on your skin. Feel the texture of the clothing you are wearing. Your senses only ever report on what is happening now. They are your direct link to reality. And of course, there is always the breath. The breath is your most loyal and reliable anchor. It is never in the past. It is never in the future. It is always happening now. Simply bring your attention to the sensation of your own breathing. Feel the air as it enters your nostrils, cool and fresh. Follow it as it fills your lungs, expanding your chest. And feel it as it leaves your body, warm and released. Do not try to control it, just observe it. Each breath is a complete cycle, a perfect meditation. When you find your mind has wandered into the past or future, which it will gently and without judgment, escort your attention back to the sensation of the breath. Each time you do this, You are weakening the old habit of time addiction and strengthening the muscle of presence. Each return is a victory. You are training yourself to inhabit your own life. When you begin to live this way, your entire experience of life transforms. It is not that you no longer use clock time to function in the world. You do, but you do so with a new lightness. You set a goal, but you do not live in a state of anxious tension until it is achieved. You focus your full attention on the single step you can take now. The quality of your doing is transformed by the quality of your being. You discover that there are no problems in the now. There are only situations that you deal with as they arise. The problem is a mental construct, a story the ego tells about the situation, saturated with future fear. In the now, you simply meet the situation with your full presence and intelligence. Life ceases to be a stressful journey toward a future destination and becomes a vibrant, alive unfolding in each moment. There is a richness, a depth, a peace that permeates your experience because you are no longer missing your life by thinking about it. The present moment is the only door. There is no other. It is the only portal to peace, to love, to joy, to your own divine essence. It is the end of suffering, which is always time-bound. It is the beginning of a truly conscious life. As we learn to reside more and more consistently in this sacred space of the now, something remarkable begins to happen. The sharp distinction between the me who is observing and the moment that is being observed begins to soften. The sense of being a separate, isolated fragment in the universe starts to dissolve into a larger feeling of unity. The boundaries drawn by the ego begin to blur in the vast, open field of presence. Dwelling in the now reveals a fundamental truth: our connection to everything. We are not separate islands. As we learn to dwell more consistently in the timeless, spacious reality of the present moment, the very foundations of our identity begin to shift. In the deep stillness of the now, the hard, sharp edges of the me-separate self, we have always believed ourselves to begin to soften and dissolve. The persistent feeling of being a fragile, isolated consciousness trapped inside a body, looking out at a vast and separate world, starts to feel less real, less solid. It begins to reveal itself for what it is, an illusion. This is the beginning of the Great Awakening, the journey beyond the lonely island of the self. Dwelling in the now reveals a fundamental truth, a truth that, once seen, changes everything. Our connection to everything is absolute. We are not separate islands. The deepest ache of the human condition, the root of our most profound loneliness and existential fear, is born from this illusion of separation. From our earliest moments, the ego begins its lifelong project of constructing a separate identity. It identifies with a name, a body, a personal history, a collection of thoughts and beliefs. It draws a sharp line in the sand of consciousness and declares, "This is me, and everything on the other side of this line is not me." This creates the fundamental duality of self and other, of subject and object, of humanity and nature. We become a lonely fragment, a cosmic orphan, struggling for survival and significance in a universe that appears vast, indifferent, and often hostile. This core belief in our own separateness is the wellspring from which our deepest fears arise. The fear of death, which is the ultimate dissolution of the separate self, and the fear of not being loved or truly seen, which is the fear that our separate self is not worthy of connection. This inner state of separation inevitably projects itself outward, creating a world of conflict and competition. If you and I are fundamentally separate, then our interests are not always aligned. Your success could mean my failure. Your gain could be my loss. We must compete for limited resources, for status, for love, for recognition. This me against the world paradigm is the seed of all human conflict. It is the root of tribalism, nationalism, racism, and war. It is the mindset that allows us to exploit our planet as if it were a dead resource for our consumption, rather than a living part of our own being. The inner conflict, therefore, is between this deeply programmed, fear-based drive to compete and protect the separate self, and the soul's innate, undeniable yearning for harmony, for communion, for belonging. We build walls around our hearts to protect our fragile selves, and then we wonder why we feel so lonely and disconnected. But what if the entire premise is wrong? What if separation is a case of mistaken identity? This is the core message, the paradigm-shattering revelation that the mystics and sages of all traditions have pointed to throughout the ages. The consciousness that looks out through your eyes and experiences your life is the very same, single, undivided, universal consciousness that looks out through every other pair of eyes. Consciousness is one. It is a single, infinite ocean, and each one of us is a wave on that ocean. The wave may have a temporary, unique form, but it is never, for one moment, separate from the water of the ocean itself. This is why the poet Rumi declared, "You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. Your very essence is the essence of everything." The universe is not something outside of you that you are looking at. The universe is experiencing itself, temporarily, as you. This recognition leads to another profound truth. What you do to another, you are literally doing to yourself. Hurting another person is not just a moral transgression. It is a metaphysical act of self-harm. You are wounding another expression of the same being that you are. Imagine a magnificent, infinitely vast tapestry. From our limited perspective, we see only our own single thread. We judge its color, its texture, its position. We compare it to the threads around us. But from a higher perspective, we would see that every thread is essential to the whole. Each thread's unique character contributes to the breathtaking beauty of the one unified design. Or picture a vast spider's web, shimmering in the morning dew. If a single fly touches a strand on one side of the web, the vibrations are felt through every other strand. The entire web trembles as one. We are like this. Our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions are not isolated events. They are vibrations that ripple out across the entire web of consciousness, affecting the whole in ways we can scarcely imagine. To move this from an intellectual concept to a lived reality, we can engage in a practice of the heart. I invite you to find a quiet space. Close your eyes and bring your attention to the center of your chest, your heart space. Imagine a warm, radiant ball of light glowing there. This is the light of your own essence, your own love. Now, picture someone you love deeply. Imagine a single thread of this golden light extending from your heart and gently connecting to their heart. Feel the warmth and love flowing through that connection. Next, allow more threads of light to extend from your heart, connecting to your friends, your family, your neighbors. See these connections forming a beautiful, luminous web. Do not stop there. Let the threads of light continue to flow outward, across your town, your country, across the continents and oceans. In your mind's eye, connect your heart with the heart of every single human being on this planet, regardless of who they are or where they live. See the entire human family united in this brilliant web of light. Now, extend the light further still. Connect your heart to the animals, to the great whales in the ocean and the birds in the sky. Connect to the ancient trees, the mountains, the rivers, the very soil of the earth itself. Feel your unity with all of life. Rest in this feeling. In this state of boundless connection, the illusion of other dissolves. There is only one of us here. There is only one interconnected field of life, expressing itself in countless beautiful forms. As you cultivate this awareness, your experience of the world will fundamentally change. Compassion will arise naturally, not as a strained moral effort. How can you not have compassion for another when you recognize them as yourself in a different costume? The frantic need to compete will lessen, replaced by a desire to cooperate and uplift. The fear of loneliness will evaporate, for how can you be lonely when you are intimately connected to everything that exists? You will begin to feel a profound sense of belonging, a feeling of being completely and perfectly at home in the universe. You are not a visitor here. You are the universe itself, awake and aware. This realization is the ultimate homecoming. It is the end of your cosmic exile. It is the discovery that your true identity is not limited to your small personal story, but is as vast and boundless as existence itself. You are a unique and unrepeatable expression of the totality, a precious perspective through which the universe beholds its own glory. This profound understanding of our shared being, of our fundamental oneness, has radical and immediate implications for how we navigate our relationships and our pasts. It dismantles the very foundation upon which we build our grievances and resentments. Understanding this interconnectedness fundamentally changes our relationship with others. It opens the door to forgiveness, not as a moral duty that we must force ourselves to perform, but as a simple, logical, and liberating act of self-healing and self-liberation. When the truth of our interconnectedness dawns upon us, not as a theory but as a felt reality, the entire landscape of our inner world is rearranged. The realization that we are not separate islands but waves on a single ocean fundamentally alters our relationship with everyone and everything. It shines a brilliant light into the dark corners of our heart where we have stored our resentments, our grievances, and our refusals to forgive. From the perspective of unity, holding a grudge against another is a form of inner civil war, a futile and painful act of self-sabotage. Understanding this interconnectedness, therefore, opens the door to forgiveness. It ceases to be a difficult moral duty we must force ourselves to perform. It reveals itself for what it truly is, a simple, logical, and profoundly liberating act of returning to wholeness. To understand the liberation of forgiveness, we must first dissect the prison of unforgiveness. Holding a grudge is one of the most misunderstood and spiritually corrosive energies we can entertain. We believe, in our anger and our pain, that our resentment is a weapon we are holding, aimed at the person who harmed us. We believe it is a way of holding them accountable, of punishing them, of protecting ourselves from future harm. But this is a grave illusion. The truth is that holding a grudge is like drinking a cup of poison yourself and waiting for the other person to die. The resentment, the bitterness, the endless replaying of the painful memory, this toxic cocktail, does not harm its intended target. It courses through your own veins, poisoning your own mind, tensing your own body, and corrupting your own present moment. Unforgiveness is a heavy chain that binds you inextricably to the very person and the very event you wish to escape. You are not free from them. You are their prisoner, forced to carry them with you, to relive the moment of your wounding again and again, ensuring that the pain of a single moment from the past extends its shadow over all of your todays and all of your tomorrows. The inner conflict here is a fierce battle between the ego and the soul. The ego loves a grievance. A grievance provides it with a powerful and compelling story. It solidifies its identity as the wronged one, the victim, the one who was right. This sense of moral superiority is a potent fuel for the ego. It will argue passionately for its right to be angry. It will whisper, "They don't deserve your forgiveness." To forgive would be to say that what they did was okay. Your anger is your power. If you let it go, you will be weak and vulnerable. The ego would rather be right than be free. It would rather cling to its painful story than step into the open, unknown territory of peace. And so we fight to keep our wounds open, polishing our resentments like dark jewels because we have mistaken them for our strength. But deep beneath the ego's noisy justifications, the soul whispers a different truth. The soul does not care about being right. It craves only one thing: peace. It yearns for freedom from the heavy burden of the past. The conflict is between the ego's demand for justice and the soul's deep need for liberation. This brings us to the core, life-altering message about forgiveness. Forgiveness is an act of supreme and radical self-interest. It has almost nothing to do with the other person. You do it for you. You are not letting them off the hook. You are taking yourself off the hook. They may never apologize. They may never change. They may never even know that you have forgiven them. It is utterly irrelevant. Forgiveness is you, standing up, taking a pair of energetic scissors, and cutting the cord that has bound you to them. It is you, finally putting down the searing hot coal that has been burning your own hand. It is you, shrugging off the heavy backpack filled with stones of resentment that you have been carrying for miles up a steep mountain. It is a declaration of your own freedom. It is the ultimate act of reclaiming your power, of calling all of your precious life force back from a dead past and into the living present, where it can be used to create, to love, and to heal. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is the final, definitive act of a warrior who has decided the war within is over. To facilitate this profound act of liberation, we can use a beautiful and ancient practice of reconciliation and cleansing known as Ho'oponopono. It is a simple yet powerful mantra that works on the deepest levels of our consciousness to clear toxic energies. I invite you now to find a quiet space, close your eyes, and bring to mind a person or a situation that still holds the painful charge of unforgiveness for you. Allow yourself to see their face, to feel the familiar clenching of resentment in your body. Do not push it away. For this moment, just allow it to be there. Now, speaking to the memory, to the divine, to your own higher self, you will repeat 4 simple phrases. The first is, "I'm sorry." This is not an admission of guilt. You are not saying you were wrong. You are saying with deep humility, "I am sorry for my role in holding this toxic energy in my consciousness for so long. I am sorry for the pain this has caused within my own being. I take responsibility for my experience of this memory." The second is, "Please forgive me." This is not a plea to the person who wronged you. It is a request to the universe, to God, to life itself, to forgive you for believing in the illusion of separation, for holding on to this poison, for allowing this wound to define a part of your life. It is a request for inner cleansing. The third is, "Thank you." This can feel difficult, but it is transformative. You say thank you for the lesson hidden within the pain, however brutal. Thank you for the opportunity to learn about strength, about resilience, about compassion. And you say thank you in advance for the freedom that is coming, for the healing that is occurring as you perform this sacred act. The fourth, and most powerful, is, "I love you." Love is the ultimate neutralizing agent. It is the highest frequency in the universe. You send this frequency of love to the wounded part of your own self. You send it to the memory itself, surrounding it with light, dissolving its painful charge. And yes, if you can, you send it to the person who hurt you, not as an endorsement of their action, but as a recognition of the spark of divinity, the shared consciousness that exists within them, however hidden. You send love to heal the entire situation on an energetic level. "I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you." Repeat these 4 phrases over and over, like a mantra. Let them be a gentle rain, washing over the hardened ground of your resentment. Feel the vibration of each phrase in your heart. There is no need to force any emotion. Simply repeat the words and allow the alchemy to work. You are performing a deep spiritual cleansing. When you practice this, and you truly release the grip of unforgiveness, the feeling is unmistakable. It is a profound lightness. It is a spaciousness that opens up inside you where the dense, heavy energy of the grudge used to be. You have not forgotten what happened, but it no longer has power over you. The story no longer runs you. You can think of the person or the event without the immediate, visceral sting of pain and anger. You have truly and finally set yourself free. Forgiveness is the ultimate act of inner housekeeping. It is clearing out the cellar of the soul, sweeping away the cobwebs of old hurts and the toxic dust of bitterness. This act of release doesn't just remove the negative, it creates a pristine, clear, and sacred inner space. Forgiveness clears the inner space. This space is now a sanctuary, but a sanctuary must be protected. A cleared garden must be tended, lest the old weeds grow back. Now, We must learn to cultivate and protect this precious inner peace. We must learn to build a framework of strength around it. Now, we must learn to cultivate and protect this space with discipline. The act of forgiveness is a profound spiritual cleansing. It is the sacred work of clearing the inner sanctuary of the soul, sweeping away the dust of old grievances and washing the floors clean of toxic resentment. In the wake of this release, we are left with a pristine and precious inner space, a space of clarity, silence, and peace. This sanctuary, however, is not static. It is a living part of us, and like any sacred ground, it requires tending. Having cleared the space, we are now faced with a new and vital task. We must learn to protect it. We must build a structure of loving intention around this peace, lest the chaos of the world and the weeds of our own old habits encroach upon it once more. This brings us to a word that is often misunderstood, a concept that many of us have been taught to resist: discipline. For most of us, the word discipline carries the cold, hard weight of punishment. It evokes memories of being controlled, of joyless restriction, of being forced to do things against our will. We associate it with a lack of freedom, a denial of pleasure. The part of us that is driven by impulse and instant gratification, the restless monkey minderables at the very thought of it. This part of us seeks comfort and ease above all else, and it views discipline as its natural enemy. It will argue that freedom is the ability to do whatever you want, whenever you want. But we must look deeper. We must be willing to dismantle this childish notion of freedom and redefine discipline not as a cage, but as the very key to our liberation. Here, we discover a transformative truth, a new psychological framework for this powerful concept. Self-discipline is the highest and most potent form of self-love. It is not an act of self-punishment. It is an act of profound self-respect. It is the voice of your highest self, your wisest inner adult, acting as a loving and steadfast guardian for your impulsive, short-sighted inner child. It is the practice of choosing what you want most: your peace, your health, your purpose, your growth over the fleeting, superficial craving of what you want now: the extra hour of sleep, the junk food, the mindless scrolling, the gossip. Each act of self-discipline is a powerful declaration to the universe and to your own soul. It says, "I am worthy of the future I am creating. I respect myself enough to make choices that honor that future. I love myself enough to do what is best for me, not just what is easy." When you choose the meditation cushion over the snooze button, you are saying, "I love my peace of mind." When you choose a nourishing meal over a sugary snack, you are saying, "I love my body." When you choose to hold your tongue instead of engaging in negative talk, you are saying, "I love my inner sanctuary." This brings us to the great paradox of freedom and the core message of this teaching. The undisciplined life is not a free life. A life ruled by whim, impulse, and mood is a life of slavery. You are a slave to your appetites, a slave to your procrastination, a slave to the fleeting emotional states that blow through you like the wind. True freedom is not the absence of structure. It is the conscious and deliberate creation of a structure that serves your highest self. Imagine a mighty river. A river without banks is not a river at all. It is a swampa, stagnant, shallow, muddy, and powerless marsh. It goes nowhere. The banks are the discipline. They are the structure that gives the river its depth, its direction, and its incredible power. Because it is contained by its banks, the river can flow with immense force, carving canyons through stone and generating energy to light up cities. Your life force is this river. Discipline provides the banks that allow your power to flow in a chosen, purposeful direction. Think also of a magnificent skyscraper. You cannot build such a structure to great heights without a deep foundation and a powerful inner frame of steel. Discipline is this steel frame. It is the inner integrity, the hidden structure that allows you to build a life of purpose and resilience, a life that can withstand the inevitable storms without collapsing. So how do we begin to build this frame, to define these banks, especially when we feel we have no discipline at all? We begin not with a grand, overwhelming overhaul of our entire life, but with the practice of micro-discipline. The all-or-nothing approach is the ego's trap. It sets an impossibly high bar, ensuring we will fail, so it can then say, "See, I told you you couldn't do it." We will sidestep this trap by making the bar laughably low. I invite you to choose one, and only one, tiny, almost insignificant act of discipline that you will commit to doing every single day. Choose something so small that your mind cannot find a valid excuse to avoid it. Perhaps you will meditate for just 5 minutes. Not 20, not 30, just 5. Perhaps you will read one single page of a meaningful book. Not a chapter, just one page. Perhaps you will drink one glass of water the moment you wake up. Or do one single push-up. The specific act is far less important than the consistency with which you perform it. The power here lies not in the magnitude of the act, but in the integrity of the commitment. Each day that you perform your chosen micro-discipline, you are forging another link in a chain of self-trust. You are keeping a promise to yourself. This act, however small, sends a powerful message to your subconscious mind. I am someone who does what they say they will do. This builds momentum. It generates a quiet pride and a solid sense of self-respect that is worth more than any external praise. The goal is not just to do the thing, the goal is to not break the chain. As this chain of integrity grows stronger, you will find, quite naturally, that you are able to add other, larger acts of discipline to your life. You have proven to yourself that you are capable. You have built the steel frame, one small, consistent act at a time. This disciplined practice becomes the very architecture of your inner sanctuary. Each conscious choice is another stone in the wall that protects your peace. The 5 minutes of silence in the morning fortifies your mind against the chaos of the day. The conscious choice of what information you consume protects your awareness from toxicity. The discipline to not immediately react to a trigger, but to pause and breathe, becomes the gatekeeper that stands guard at the entrance to your heart. You are no longer at the mercy of the outside world, because you have cultivated an inner world of profound stability and strength. You have become the sovereign ruler of your own inner kingdom. Discipline, then, is the bridge between the spiritual insights you have gained and their manifestation in your daily, lived reality. It is the practical application of your highest intentions. It is the loving structure that translates your values into your actions. It is the ultimate expression of inner power, the choice to be the creator of your life, not merely a creature of habit. This consistency, this disciplined application of your inner work, does not only affect your internal state, it begins to create powerful ripples that extend outward, fundamentally altering the very substance and quality of your external world. Discipline creates consistency. Consistency in our inner work begins to reshape our outer world through the law of resonance. The steady, consistent application of self-discipline forges more than just character. It forges a new reality. Each conscious choice, each act of returning to presence, of choosing gratitude, of embodying forgiveness, these are not isolated events. They are resonant notes that, when played consistently, create a stable and coherent chord. This chord is your vibrational signature. It is the energetic frequency that you are constantly broadcasting out into the universe. And this brings us to a fundamental law of creation, a principle as real and impersonal as gravity. The disciplined consistency of your inner work does not just change how you feel. It begins to actively reshape your outer world through the law of resonance, known more popularly as the law of attraction. Let us immediately clear the field of the superficial and often misleading interpretations of this profound law. This is not a cosmic vending machine where you insert positive thoughts and get back sports cars and soulmates. To view it as such is the ego's attempt to turn a sacred law of creation into a new strategy for getting what it wants, and this approach is destined for frustration. The law of attraction is not a tool for the ego to manipulate the world. It is a law of the universe that mirrors the truth of your being. In its simplest form, the law states, "Like energy attracts like energy." The universe is not responding to your words or even to your wants. It is responding with perfect and impersonal precision to the dominant vibration of your being, the sum total of your deepest beliefs, your most common emotional states, and the silent assumptions you hold about yourself and about life. Imagine that the world you experience is a perfect, flawless mirror. It can only reflect what is standing before it. If you stand before the mirror with a posture of lack, with a heart full of doubt, and with a mind that believes life is a struggle, the mirror has no choice but to reflect a world of scarcity, disappointment, and hardship. It is not punishing you. It is simply showing you, with perfect fidelity, the energy you are emitting. If, however, you can cultivate a genuine, sustained inner state of joy, of abundance, of trust, of love, the mirror must, by law, reflect a world filled with joyful experiences, abundant opportunities, and loving encounters. The creative work is not in trying to manipulate the reflection in the mirror. The creative work is in changing the self that is casting the reflection. This reveals the central inner conflict in applying this law, the struggle between the ego's desire to get and the soul's wisdom to be. The ego hears this principle and immediately formulates a plan. Okay, I will think positive thoughts for 10 minutes a day so that I can get the money, get the relationship, get the recognition. But this approach is built on a foundation of lack. The very act of desperate wanting sends out a powerful vibration of not having. You are screaming at the universe, "I do not have this thing." And the universe, as the perfect mirror, faithfully responds, "Yes, you do not have this thing." The soul understands a deeper truth. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. The journey is not one of acquiring, but of becoming. You do not get love by chasing it. You attract love by becoming the embodiment of love itself. You do not get abundance by desperately pursuing wealth. You attract abundance by cultivating a state of feeling prosperous and grateful, regardless of your current bank balance. The focus shifts entirely from outer action to inner alignment. This is the core message. Your state of being is your primary creative tool. The constant, disciplined management of your own inner state is the most important work you will ever do. Everything else is secondary. You must become the energetic equivalent of that which you wish to experience. Think of yourself as a musical tuning fork. If you want to manifest the experience of peace, you must first become the tuning fork that is vibrating at the frequency of peace. Then, the universe, which is a vast field of vibrating potential, will bring people, circumstances, and events that resonate with that frequency into your experience. They have to. It is the law of resonance. You are not chasing the experience. You are magnetizing it through the power of your own sustained vibration. So, how do we consciously work with this law? We do it by mastering the art of feeling the future, of living in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. This is the secret. It is not about thinking about what you want. It is about feeling what it would be like to already have it. I invite you to practice this powerful form of creative meditation. First, get clear on your desire, but go deeper than the surface, object, or event. What is the feeling state you are truly after? You don't just want the promotion, you want the feeling of purpose, respect, and financial security. You don't just want the partner, you want the feeling of deep connection, love, and joyful companionship. The feeling is the destination. Now, find a quiet time and relax your body. Enter a calm, meditative state. In your imagination, construct a short, simple scene which implies that your desire is already a fact. Do not watch it like a movie. Step into the scene, See it through your own eyes. Hear it with your own ears. What would you see? What would you hear? Perhaps it is a loved one congratulating you. Perhaps it is the feeling of the keys to your new home in your hand. And now, the most vital part. What would you feel? Allow yourself to generate the emotion of the wish fulfilled. Would it be relief, gratitude, joy, exhilaration? Let that feeling rise up and completely saturate your body. Feel it in your hands, in your chest, in your stomach. Marinate in that feeling. This feeling is the prayer. It is the energetic signature you are broadcasting to the quantum field. The goal of this practice is not just to feel good for 5 minutes. The goal is to capture that feeling state and to learn to live from it. How would the person who already has what you desire walk, talk, and think? They would not be worried about when it is coming. They would not be feeling needy or desperate. They would be calm, confident, and grateful. Your work is to embody that state of consciousness now, before the evidence has appeared in the mirror. You remain faithful to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. When you can successfully shift your state of being, you have done all you need to do. The how and the when of its appearance are not your concern. You have planted the seed in the fertile ground of consciousness. Now you must allow the universe, with its infinitely complex and intelligent ways, to orchestrate the bridge of incidents, the seemingly natural and sometimes surprising series of events, encounters, and opportunities that will lead you to the physical manifestation of your inner state. Your only job is to remain in the state of the wish fulfilled. This is the true meaning of co-creation. It is a dance between your disciplined, focused consciousness and the infinite, creative power of the universe. You, through your disciplined attention and feeling, create the vibrational mold. The universe then fills that mold with the substance of reality. This is why all the inner work you have done clearing the past, embracing the shadow, cultivating gratitude, and presence is so essential. It is what enables you to maintain a stable, high-frequency signal. It is your greatest creative power. And to maintain this creative, high-vibrational state is the primary work. It requires constant care and vigilance. A high-performance engine requires clean fuel. A healthy body requires good food. A high-vibration consciousness requires deliberate and careful nourishment. To maintain a high vibration, we must choose our nourishment carefully, not just for the body, but for the mind. The disciplined and consistent management of your inner state is your greatest creative power. It is the work of becoming a stable, high-frequency broadcast tower, sending a clear signal of peace, abundance, and love out into the quantum field. But like any powerful instrument, this broadcast tower is sensitive. It can be disrupted by interference. A high-performance engine requires clean fuel. A vibrant, healthy body requires wholesome food. In exactly the same way, a high-vibration consciousness requires deliberate and mindful nourishment. To maintain this creative inner state, to protect the sacred fire of your awareness, we must now turn our attention to the quality of the fuel we are feeding it every single day. We must learn to consciously choose our nourishment, not just for the body, but for the mind. Let us use a powerful metaphor. Your mind is a fertile garden. The soil is rich with potential, capable of growing anything. Every piece of information you consume, every news article you read, every social media feed you scroll through, every conversation you participate in, every movie you watch, every song you listen to is a seed. And every seed you plant will inevitably grow. If you constantly plant seeds of fear, outrage, political division, and social comparison, your garden will be overrun with the weeds of anxiety, anger, jealousy, and feelings of inadequacy. These weeds will choke the life out of your peace. They will consume the light and nutrients, leaving no room for the beautiful flowers of your own soul to blossom. If, however, you consciously choose to plant seeds of wisdom, of beauty, of compassion, of inspiration, and of knowledge, your inner garden will flourish with the blossoms of creativity, joy, and profound inner peace. We live in an information age, but much of that information is the energetic equivalent of junk food. It is designed to be addictive, not nutritious. The 24-hour news cycle does not primarily exist to inform you. It exists to capture and hold your attention by triggering your most primal emotions, fear, and anger. Social media platforms are not primarily designed to connect you. They are designed to keep you scrolling by showing you curated, often misleading, snapshots of other people's lives, expertly engineered to make you feel that your own life is lacking. This constant exposure to negativity, outrage, and comparison is not a neutral act. Each exposure is a seed of low-vibration energy planted directly into the fertile soil of your mind. You are, in essence, paying for free content with your own peace of mind. This creates a deep inner conflict. There is a part of us, a deeply conditioned part, that feels an obligation to stay informed. We are driven by a fear of missing out, a nagging anxiety that if we unplug, we will be ignorant, irresponsible, or left behind. This is coupled with the addictive, almost chemical pull of the drama. The rush of outrage, the jolt of fear, these are powerful emotional states that the ego can latch onto, creating a sense of being alive and engaged, even if that engagement is entirely negative. This compulsive need to consume information is at war with the soul's deep and abiding desire for silence, for clarity, for a tranquil inner space where its own wisdom can be heard. We feel torn between the frantic need to know what is happening out there and the profound longing to cultivate what is happening in here. Here we must claim our power through a radical and liberating core message. Your mind is a sacred garden, and you are the gatekeeper. You have the absolute right and the profound responsibility to decide which seeds you allow to be planted within it. This is not an act of ignorance. It is an act of supreme wisdom. This is not about putting your head in the sand. It is about protecting your consciousness. Protect your inner space as you would protect your home. You would not allow a stranger to walk into your living room and dump a bucket of garbage on your floor. So why do you allow news anchors, angry bloggers, and carefully curated social media accounts to do it inside your mind every single day for hours on end? To become a conscious curator of your information diet is a revolutionary act of self-respect. It is a declaration that your inner peace is more valuable than your knowledge of the latest transient crisis or celebrity gossip. You are choosing to filter the world through your own wisdom, not through the agenda-driven lens of the mass media. So, how do we begin this practice of mental nourishment? We can start with a simple, powerful experiment, a weekend information fast. I invite you to try this. Choose a 24 or 48-hour period and make a commitment to yourself. For this period, you will consume zero news. No television news, no news websites, no checking headlines on your phone. You will also engage in zero mindless social media scrolling. This is not about creating a vacuum of boredom. It is about creating a space for true nourishment. Intentionally replace the noise with things that feed your soul. Read a chapter of an inspiring book. Listen to music that uplifts your spirit. Go for a long walk in nature and simply observe the sky, the trees, the birds. Have a deep, present conversation with someone you love. Sit in silence and do nothing at all. Pay close attention to what happens. At first, you may feel a sense of restlessness, an itch to check your phone. This is the detox process, the withdrawal from the addiction. Be with that feeling. Notice it without acting on it. And then, notice what follows. A sense of calm begins to descend. Your thoughts become clearer, less frantic, less cluttered. You may notice that you have more energy, because you are not leaking it into 100 different outrage-fueled narratives. You will begin to hear the sound of your own thoughts again, the whisper of your own creative impulses, the quiet guidance of your own intuition, now that it is no longer being drowned out by the shouting of the world. This experiment will prove to you, through your own direct experience, how profoundly your inner state is affected by your information diet. From this experience, you can begin to curate your daily life. You become a conscious curator, not a passive consumer. Unfollow the social media accounts that consistently make you feel anxious or less than. Unsubscribe from the newsletters that thrive on sensationalism. Perhaps you choose one or two reputable, low-drama news sources and decide to check them for 15 minutes at a specific time of day, rather than allowing notifications to push their way into your awareness at all hours. You learn to politely steer conversations away from gossip and complaining, or to simply excuse yourself. You are building a clean water filter for your consciousness, allowing only that which truly nourishes you to pass through. This act of consciously nourishing the mind is a foundational practice for creating and maintaining a high-vibration reality. It is the practical, daily application of protecting your energy. It is the loving cultivation of your sacred inner garden. When the mind is no longer polluted by the constant influx of fear, lack, and negativity, it naturally returns to its original state, one of clarity, peace, and spaciousness. It stops its frantic, outward search for meaning and validation. It rests. And in this rest, it discovers a profound truth. A nourished mind finds its purpose not in a grand, external goal, but in the quality of its presence. A mind that is consciously nourished, cleared of the incessant chatter of the outside world, becomes calm and spacious. In this newfound clarity, it ceases its frantic outward search. One of the heaviest burdens it finally lays down is the desperate and anxious quest for a life purpose. Our culture has sold us a very specific and stressful myth about purpose. It is the idea that each of us has one single, grand, capital P purpose, a unique, predestined mission that we must find in order to live a meaningful life. If we fail to find it, we have failed at life itself. This concept, though it may sound inspiring, has become a source of immense pressure, anxiety, and a pervasive feeling of being inadequate or lost. But what if this entire model is flawed? What if the search itself is the source of the problem? A nourished mind, rooted in the now, stops looking for purpose as an external goal. It discovers that purpose is not found out there, but is generated in here, through the quality of its presence. Let us deconstruct this myth of the one true purpose. This idea is a clever invention of the ego. The ego, which thrives on stories and future projections, is deeply uncomfortable with the simple, unadorned reality of the present moment. It desires a grand identity, an impressive label for itself that it can strive toward. It wants to be the healer who cures a disease, the artist who changes the world, or the entrepreneur who builds an empire. It seeks a destination in the future that, once reached, will confer upon it a permanent state of validation and worthiness. This entire framework is designed to keep you living in the future, constantly measuring your present self against a future ideal and finding yourself lacking. It is a subtle and powerful trap that prevents you from ever truly arriving in your own life. The inner conflict created by this search is agonizing. You look at others who seem to have found their passion, who speak with certainty about their calling, and you are filled with a gnawing sense of comparison and panic. You feel you are falling behind in a race you don't fully understand. You worry obsessively about making the wrong career choice, taking the wrong path, and missing your one great destiny. This fear can lead to a state of paralysis, where you are so afraid of choosing the wrong purpose that you choose nothing at all, waiting for a divine sign, a bolt of lightning from the heavens that will finally illuminate your grand mission. But the heavens are silent because you are looking for something in the future that can only be found in the quality of your attention right now. This entire struggle, the anxiety, the comparison, the paralysis, a painful and utterly unnecessary game, orchestrated by an ego that cannot accept the profound sufficiency of the present moment. Here we can introduce a radical, liberating redefinition of purpose. This is the core message that will release you from the prison of searching. Your purpose is not something you find, it is something you bring. It is not a destination you must travel to. It is a quality of consciousness that you inhabit, right here, right now. Purpose is not what you do. It is how you do whatever you are doing. Stripped to its absolute essence, your primary purpose is to be fully present in whatever you are doing. It is to bring the light of your full, undivided attention to this one sacred moment. This shifts the entire focus from a monumental, future-based achievement to a simple, present-moment state of being. Consider the sun. The sun does not strain and struggle with the purpose of having to shine on the earth. The sun simply is the sun. It is a vast, burning ball of fire, and the shining, the giving of light and warmth, is the natural, effortless consequence of its very being. Consider a flower in a field. It does not wrestle with the anxiety of needing to be beautiful. It does not compare itself to the flower next to it. It simply is a flower in its full, surrendered, present moment expression. Its beauty and its fragrance are not a goal it achieves. They are the natural result of it being authentically itself. Your purpose is the same. It is to be fully, authentically, and presently human. Your most meaningful and purposeful contributions to the world will not flow from anxious striving, but will emerge as the natural, effortless byproduct of you simply being fully present in your own life. So how do we practice this? How do we find profound purpose in a life that may seem ordinary? We do it by bringing the sacred quality of our attention to the so-called mundane. I invite you to conduct an experiment. Choose a simple, everyday task that you normally perform on autopilot: washing the dishes, folding your clothes, brushing your teeth, walking from your house to your car. For the duration of this task, set a clear intention. Your sole purpose in the universe is to perform this one action with your complete and undivided presence. If you are washing a dish, devote your entire being to the act of washing that dish. Feel the warmth of the water on your hands. See the iridescent shimmer of the soap bubbles. Hear the sound of the sponge scrubbing the plate. Smell the clean fragrance. Your mind, conditioned to find this boring, will try to pull you away into thoughts about the past or plans for the future. It will insist that you should be doing something more important. Each time it does, gently and without judgment, acknowledge the thought and return your attention to the simple, physical sensations of washing the dish. In that moment, your grand, cosmic purpose is not to have clean dishes. Your purpose is to be fully present with the water, the soap, and the plate. When you bring this level of conscious, purposeful presence to any action, something magical happens. Firstly, the distinction between a meaningful task and a mundane task dissolves. The task becomes a meditation, a sacred ritual. Secondly, you perform the action with a natural excellence and care that was absent when you were on autopilot. And thirdly, and most importantly, you align yourself with the creative intelligence of life itself, which only ever operates in the now. You stop resisting your life and start fully participating in it. And from this state of deep presence, a new clarity often emerges. When you stop desperately searching for your outer purpose, the career, the Collinget often has a way of finding you. You might receive an intuitive idea while washing the dishes. You might have a creative breakthrough while walking in full presence. When you are fully inhabiting the now, you become a clear channel for the universe to work through you. You don't find your purpose by chasing it. It reveals itself to you when you are still enough to receive it. This new understanding of purpose is the ultimate liberation from the ego's relentless pressure to become somebody. You are already somebody. You are here. Your life is not a problem to be solved or a race to be won. It is a mystery to be lived, a reality to be experienced, one present moment at a time. Your purpose is to inhabit that reality with the fullness of your being. When you let go of the need to do something to be purposeful and instead simply focus on being present, the quality of your actions undergoes a profound transformation. They are no longer driven by the frantic energy of anxiety or the need for external validation. They begin to flow from a deeper, calmer, more authentic source within you. When our purpose becomes presence, Our actions flow from a place of authenticity. We become the sovereign of our own inner kingdom. When your purpose is no longer a destination to be frantically sought, but a quality of presence to be embodied in each moment, a profound shift occurs. Your actions, no longer driven by the anxious need to prove your worth or find your calling, begin to spring from a deeper, calmer, and more authentic wellspring within you. This authenticity is the natural expression of a consciousness that is whole and undivided. This is the mark of sovereignty. Having journeyed through the inner landscapes of silence, shadow, and memory, you arrive at the throne room of your own being, not as a supplicant, but as the rightful ruler returning from a long and difficult exile. When our purpose becomes presence, our actions flow from a place of authenticity. We become the sovereign of our own inner kingdom. To appreciate the peace and power of this arrival, we must first remember the state of the kingdom before the sovereign returned. For most of our lives, our inner kingdom has been in a state of chaos and civil war. It was a realm without a true ruler, governed by a cacophony of competing, usurping forces. The inner critic was the loud, tyrannical prime minister, spreading fear and enforcing harsh laws of perfectionism, ensuring the populace remained small and terrified. The unhealed wounds of the past were rebellious provinces, constantly draining the kingdom's resources, demanding attention and energy, and replaying old battles on a loop. The unintegrated shadow was a dark and feared forest on the kingdom's edge, where we imagined monsters dwelled, and so we spent immense energy policing its borders. Our addictive habits and compulsions were treacherous foreign powers to whom we had outsourced our decision-making, allowing them to dictate our policies in exchange for fleeting moments of comfort. We, the true monarch, were a mere figurehead, a puppet on a throne, swayed by every opinion, terrified of every threat, constantly looking to neighboring kingdoms, the approval and validation of others to tell us we were legitimate. The journey you have undertaken has been nothing less than the epic reclamation of this kingdom. Each step was a necessary act of restoring order and returning power to its rightful center. Facing the silence and the void was the act of returning to the capital city, to the seat of power itself. Dismantling the tyranny of the urgent and removing the thousand masks were the acts of firing the corrupt court and shedding the disguises of an exiled ruler. Discovering the silent watcher was the profound moment of coronation, the realization that you are not one of the chaotic subjects, but the silent, unmoving awareness in which the entire kingdom exists. Befriending the critic, embracing the shadow, and healing the past were the courageous acts of diplomacy and reconciliation. You did not conquer the rebellious parts of your kingdom with the sword. You integrated them with compassion, listening to their grievances and bringing them home, transforming them from enemies into loyal subjects. The practices of gratitude, presence, and discipline were the acts of rebuilding the kingdom's foundations, infrastructure, and defensive walls, ensuring its lasting peace and prosperity. Now, seated in the throne room, you face the final and most crucial test of your sovereignty. It is the abdication of all external authority. For a lifetime, you have been conditioned to look outside yourself for the answers. You have turned to gurus, to experts, to books, to partners, to society, asking for permission, for validation, for direction. The inner conflict is the final battle between this deeply ingrained habit of seeking approval and the new, unwavering commitment to trusting your own inner authority. It is the moment you stop asking the world, "Who do you think I should be?" and you turn inward to the silent knowing in your own heart and ask, "Who am I, truly?" It is the moment you stop asking, "What is the right thing to do?" and instead ask, "What is the true thing for me to do?" This is the terrifying and exhilarating act of taking full, 100% responsibility for your own energy, your own happiness, and the direction of your own life. This is the core message, the great declaration of your newfound power. No one is coming to save you. No one has ever been coming to save you. You have never truly been a victim of circumstance. You are the one you have been waiting for. This is not a burden to be feared. It is the most empowering truth you will ever embrace. You are the creator, the ruler, and the sole and absolute authority in the kingdom of your consciousness. To claim this power is to finally take your seat on the throne. Feel for a moment what this is like. It is not the arrogant, puffed-up posture of the ego. It is the quiet, unshakable, solid presence of the integrated self. It is a deep, abiding peace that does not depend on external conditions. It is a straightness in your spine, a clarity in your gaze. It is the end of striving and the beginning of being. It is the feeling of being finally, completely, and irrevocably home. To anchor this profound shift into your lived reality, I invite you to create a foundational document for your inner kingdom, a personal sovereignty declaration. This is your constitution, the supreme law of your land. Take a piece of paper and at the top, write, "My Declaration of Inner Sovereignty." First, write down your core values. Ask your soul, what are the principles by which I choose to live? Is it truth, compassion, courage, freedom, creativity, authenticity? List the words that resonate most deeply. These are the laws of your kingdom. Next, define your non-negotiable boundaries. What energies, what behaviors, what treatments will you no longer allow within your kingdom's borders, from yourself or from others? Be clear and firm. In my kingdom, I no longer tolerate self-judgment. I no longer participate in gossip or negative talk. I no longer abandon my own needs to please others. These boundaries are not walls to keep life out. They are the sacred fences that protect the garden of your peace. Finally, end with a powerful declarative statement of your authority. I am the sole authority in my life. I trust my inner compass. I am fully responsible for my own energy and my own happiness. I am free. Sign and date this declaration. Place it where you will see it often. Read it aloud. Let its words remind you, especially in moments of doubt, of who you have chosen to be. The inner sovereign rules not by force, but by the quiet power of its own being. It does not need to shout, because its presence is its power. It does not need to control others, because it has mastered itself. This state of inner sovereignty is the culmination of your journey inward. It is the peace that comes when you have embraced all parts of yourself and taken full responsibility for your own consciousness. But we must be clear. The being who now sits on this throne of peace and presence is not the same being who began this journey. For the true sovereign to take its seat, the old ruler, fearful, fragmented, approval-seeking ego that believed itself to be in charge had to undergo a profound transformation. It had to release its desperate grip on control. It had to surrender its identity. In a very real sense, for you to be reborn as the sovereign, a part of you had to die. The one who now sits upon the throne of your inner kingdom, calm and present, is not the same one who began this arduous journey. A profound and fundamental shift has occurred. For the true sovereign of your consciousness to claim its seat, the old ruler had to be deposed. The imposter king, the fearful, fragmented, approval-seeking ego that believed itself to be in charge, had to release its desperate grip. It had to abdicate its throne. In fact, for you to be truly reborn, a part of you had to die. Do not be alarmed by this word. This was not the death of the body, but the death of an illusion. The coronation of your true self was preceded by the sacred and necessary funeral of your false self. This is the deepest mystery of the spiritual path, the ultimate rite of passage, the death of the ego and the rebirth of the soul. To understand this death, we must first offer a final, compassionate farewell to the ego. The ego was not, and has never been, your enemy. It was a vital and necessary survival mechanism, a makeshift self that your young consciousness constructed to navigate a complex and often overwhelming world. It was the collection of your name, your stories, your beliefs, your accomplishments, your wounds. It did its job. It kept you safe, It helped you function. It created a sense of identity where there was once just open awareness. But the ego's entire operating system is based on two flawed principles: separation and fear. And while this system may be adequate for basic survival, it is far too limited for the next stage of your evolution. It cannot comprehend unity. It cannot know unconditional love. It cannot access true peace. The boat that carried you safely across the river is not the vehicle you need for the journey into the vast, open plains. To continue the journey, you must have the courage to leave the boat behind. This process of leaving the boat behind, of the ego relinquishing its control, can be a period of profound disorientation. The mystics have called it the dark night of the soul. It is a time when the old structures of your identity begin to crumble, but the new has not yet fully formed. The motivations that once drove you, the need for success, for external validation, for material security, suddenly feel hollow and meaningless. The things that used to bring you pleasure now leave you feeling empty. Your very sense of self feels thin, fraudulent, like a costume you are tired of wearing. There can be a deep sense of confusion, of groundlessness, of having lost your way. This is the ego in its death throes. It feels its own dissolution approaching, and it panics. It thrashes against this dying of its own light, screaming into the void, "If I die, there will be nothing left." This is annihilation. The ultimate inner conflict is this: the ego's primal terror of non-existence versus a deeper, quieter, and more powerful impulse within you that whispers, "Let go, surrender, trust this process." Something new is waiting to be born. Here we arrive at the sacred central message of all mystical traditions. To truly live, the self you think you are must die. This death is not a morbid end. It is a glorious metamorphosis. It is the shedding of a tight, restrictive skin to allow for new growth. It is the breaking of a shell to reveal the infinite life within. You cannot become what you are meant to be by clinging to what you have been. You must be willing to undergo a process of complete dissolution. The caterpillar provides the perfect metaphor for this journey. The caterpillar does not simply grow wings and fly away. It must first seal itself within a chrysalis and completely dissolve. It must become a kind of primordial, undifferentiated goo. It must surrender its entire caterpillar identity, everything it has ever known itself to be. From that state of complete surrender, from that nothingness, the imaginal cells within it begin to construct something entirely new, something the caterpillar could never have conceived of: the butterfly. We too must have the courage to enter our own chrysalis, to let our old limited self-concept dissolve, so that the blueprint of our soul can manifest. This is the myth of the phoenix, the sacred bird that is not merely healed or renewed, but is utterly consumed by fire, only to be reborn from its own ashes, more magnificent than before. We must be willing to let the false self, with all its fears and vanities, be consumed by the purifying fire of our own awareness. This is the parable of the seed. A seed cannot fulfill its destiny to become a mighty tree while remaining safely encased in its hard, protective shell. It must fall into the dark earth, break open, and die to its form as a seed. In that breaking, that surrender of its old identity, the life force within it is unleashed, and it begins its journey toward the sun. There is no practice you can do to force this sacred death. It is a grace, a natural unfolding. But you can create the conditions for it. You can cooperate with the process by loosening your desperate grip on the ego's constructs. The most powerful way to do this is through the deep contemplation of impermanence. Look at the world around you. Watch the seasons turn. The leaves of autumn must fall and decay for the life of spring to emerge. This is not a tragedy. It is the rhythm of life. Look at the clouds in the sky. See how they form, take on a temporary shape, and then dissolve back into the formless sky. Your ego self is like a cloud. Now, turn your awareness to your own being. Feel the breath entering and leaving your body. Each breath is a cycle of birth and death, arriving and letting go. Acknowledge that the cells of your body are constantly dying and being replaced. The physical you of a few years ago is gone. Observe your thoughts and emotions. Notice how they arise from nothing, linger for a moment with great intensity, and then dissolve back into nothing, replaced by the next thought, the next feeling. Your personality, your beliefs, your opinions, they are all processes, not solid things. By meditating on the transient, fluid nature of all reality, you begin to untie the knots of your attachment to your own solid-seeming self. You see that letting go is not an unnatural act. It is the most natural thing in the world, because everything is already in a constant state of letting go. From this great surrender, from the ashes of the ego, a new self is born. It does not feel like you have become someone else. It feels like you have become yourself for the very first time. This new sense of self is not the small, needy, thought-based ego. This is the soul, the true self, the Christ consciousness, the Buddha nature. The names are many, but the experience is one. It is characterized by a profound and unshakable peace. It is joyful for no external reason. It is not defined by its history or its future goals. It is rooted deeply and serenely in the timeless now. It does not feel separate from life. It knows itself to be one with all life. This is the rebirth. It is the alchemy of the soul, the transformation of the lead of the fear-based ego into the pure gold of your authentic divine nature. From the ashes of the old self, we rise, not as someone new, but as who we were always meant to be. We are now ready to walk in the world with this silent power. From the ashes of the old self, we rise. The fire of awareness has burned away the false, and what remains is the pure, indestructible gold of your true nature. You have been reborn, not as someone new and unfamiliar, but as the person you were always meant to be before the world told you otherwise. You have come home to the silent, spacious presence at your core. The great inner odyssey is complete, but you do not awaken on a secluded mountaintop or in a silent monastery. You awaken right here, in the midst of your ordinary life. The world, with all its noise, its demands, and its chaos, has not changed. The final, most beautiful, and most practical stage of the journey now begins. We are now ready to learn how to walk in the world with this silent power. The first and most important realization is this: the goal of your transformation was never to calm the storm of the world. The world will continue its frantic dance. The winds of change will blow, the waves of collective emotion will crash, and the currents of human drama will swirl. Your work was not to control the ocean. Your work was to become the lighthouse. A lighthouse does not try to quell the storm. It does not shout at the waves or curse the wind. It simply stands, rooted to its foundation, and shines its light. Its power is not in its aggression, but in its unwavering presence. Your task now is not to fix the chaotic world, but to be a point of stillness and sanity within it. It is to tend to your own inner light, so that you may shine steadily, regardless of the weather. This integration into daily life brings with it a new, more subtle inner conflict. The old you, the ego self, is not entirely vanquished. Its habits, its fears, and its reactions still exist as well-worn neural pathways in your brain, like deep grooves in a road. There will be temptations to fall back into these familiar grooves. You will be cut off in traffic, and the old flash of rage will arise. You will receive a critical email, and the old sting of defensiveness will surface. You will feel tired or stressed, and the old craving for your favorite numbing distraction will call to you. The conflict is no longer a dramatic inner war, but a quiet, moment-to-moment choice. In each instant, you have the choice. Will I follow the old, automatic, reactive groove? Or will I pause, connect with the silent center I have discovered, and respond from the vast, peaceful space of my true self? It is the temptation to put the old, familiar costume back on, because, in the moment, it can feel easier then consciously embodying your newfound freedom. To navigate this, you must understand the nature of the power you now carry. This is the core message for this new way of living. This silent power is not something you use. It is not a tool you wield or a force you exert. It simply is who you are. Its expression is subtle, yet its effect is profound. It manifests in the very quality of your presence. You will notice it in how you listen. Before, perhaps you listened with a mind that was busy formulating a response, waiting for your turn to speak, judging what was being said. Now, you listen with your whole being. You offer the other person the rare and healing gift of your spacious, non-judgmental attention. This kind of listening has the power to heal others, because in your presence, they feel safe enough to hear themselves. You will notice it in how you speak. Where once there may have been nervous chatter to fill the silence, or reactive words spoken from a place of anger or fear, now your words will arise from a deeper place. They will be fewer, perhaps, but they will carry more weight. They will be imbued with the peace and clarity of the silence from which they emerge. You will notice it in your actions. The frantic, anxious energy of striving is gone. Your actions become calm, deliberate, and surprisingly effective, because they are no longer contaminated by the static of the ego's fear of failure or need for approval. And most powerfully, you will notice it in your very being. Without saying a word, your calm, centered presence will begin to affect your environment. You become the eye of the hurricane. The chaos can swirl around you, but it no longer pulls you into its vortex. In fact, your stillness often has a calming effect on the chaos itself. You are the lighthouse, and your steady light provides a point of reference, a beacon of peace for others who are lost in their own storms. The master tool for this moment-to-moment integration, the practical key to living as the lighthouse, is the cultivation of the sacred pause. It is the conscious creation of a space between stimulus and response. It is in this sacred space that your freedom lies. The practice is exquisitely simple. A stimulus occurs. You receive a triggering email. Your child spills something on the floor. Someone asks you a demanding question. Instantly, you will notice the old, habitual impulse to react. The urge to type back an angry reply, to shout in frustration, to immediately blurt out an answer. This is the moment for the pause. In that tiny fractional gap between the stimulus and your conditioned reaction, you consciously insert a space. It may only be for the duration of one single deep conscious breath. But in that breath, everything changes. In that pause, you withdraw your attention from the external drama, and you drop the anchor of your awareness back into the silent ocean of your inner being. You reconnect with the vast, peaceful space of the now, and from that place of stillness you choose your response. This response will be infinitely wiser, more compassionate, and more effective than the knee-jerk reaction ever could have been. The sacred pause is the practical application of your sovereignty, exercised in the small, ordinary moments of your life. Your work now is not about seeking more grand transformations. The transformation has occurred. The work now is one of embodiment, of integration, of simply tending to your light. You keep your inner lamp clean by being mindful of your information diet. You keep your lamp fueled with the high-octane energy of gratitude and self-compassion. You ensure its foundation is strong through your loving self-discipline, and then you simply allow it to shine. You do not worry about who is seeing your light or whether they choose to use it for their own navigation. That is not your concern. Your function is simply to be a steady, unwavering beacon of presence, sanity, and peace in a world that is desperately in need of it. This is the beautiful, lifelong art of walking in silence. It is not an outward silence, but an inner one. It is the ability to move through the noise and haste of the world while remaining firmly rooted in the deep, silent peace of your true nature. The grand adventure of finding yourself is over. The quieter, more profound, and ultimately more rewarding adventure of living as yourself has now begun. There is no final peak to conquer. There is only the continuous, moment-by-moment deepening of your presence, your peace, your being. You have done the work. You have faced the darkness. You have come home. Now, all that is left is to live from this place, to walk in the world as the silent, steady presence you now know yourself to be. We began this journey together on the shore of a vast and turbulent ocean, the ocean of your own consciousness. We spoke of the crashing waves of daily thoughts, the relentless currents of obligation, and the storms of emotion that tossed you about, leaving you feeling weary and lost. The journey we have taken was not an escape from this ocean. It was a lesson in how to dive. You are no longer the frightened sailor, clinging to a raft on the surface, at the mercy of every wave. You have come to realize the profound truth of your own being. You are not in the ocean. You are the ocean. The turbulent surface is a part of you, but so is the vast, silent, imperturbable depth. You have learned to journey beneath the waves, to find that still, quiet place within you that is untouched by any storm. This is the peace that was always yours. This journey has no final destination, no graduation day. It is a way of being, a new manner of walking through the world. The tools and perspectives offered here are not new things that have been given to you, but keys that have helped you unlock doors that were already yours. The strength you have found, the peace you have cultivated, the wisdom you now hear in the silence, these were not bestowed upon you, they were uncovered. They have been waiting patiently within you your entire life, buried beneath the noise of the world and the chatter of the unobserved mind. You have simply come to remember the truth of who you are. The world will continue its frantic dance. The noise will not cease. The demands and distractions will still call for your attention, but they no longer have power over you. For you have found the silence within the noise, the stillness within the movement, the sacred space that is immune to the chaos. You have come home. The wise sage you were once seeking on a distant mountaintop, the guru you hoped would give you the answers, was an echo of a deeper truth. That sage, with all their peace and all their wisdom, has been waiting for you, patiently, all this time, in the quiet, luminous chamber of your own heart. Now, listen.